A very good evening to all my dear students. So I can see that Dhyanesh, Lakshmi, Dhruvi, Alok, Harshita, these students have already joined, which I can see on the query link. So very good evening to all of you. And today is our fourth session for chapter number 9, which is audit of items of financial statements. Okay, a very important chapter from the point of view of your examination, as well as from the point of view of your practical training. Like when you will be going for practical training, you will see that whatever audit procedures we are considering in this chapter, the same you will be doing practically. I hope that you all are able to understand it and you all are actually enjoying the topics that we are doing, right? Because the entire chapter is 100% practical implementation. I always ask you to visualize yourself in a situation whereby you yourself are involved in conducting the audit of the particular item of financial statement, which in my understanding is very, it is a very good exercise and it helps you to prepare for your exams also. Like if in your exam you get any question, any item of the financial statement, which if you haven't done in detail before, so you will be able to answer to that question. Okay. So Pranav, Varsha, Swati, Ramnivas, Manisha Ben, Pritika, Mohammed, Priyanka, Harshita, Alok, Dhruvi, Lakshmi, Dhyanesh. These students have already joined, and I also hope that the homework that was given to you, you all guys have already done that. Okay. Now, students, today we will be completing the notes that I have left with respect to few items of financial statement. After completing the notes, then I'll be starting with the item of financial statement, which is what? Trade payables. Trade payables ka discussion we have had in the last session, but from the module and the entire discussion with respect to disclosures also we will be doing today. If any of your doubts is still pending, koi bhi query hai, please send in your query. Okay, so Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, homework is done, which is very good and which is the need of the hour. You need to do the homework. You need to go through the module before coming for the next session. So agar abhi bhi kisi ne nahi kiya hai, to whenever we are going to have the next session, that is on 2nd. So before that session, please go through the entire chapter till where we would be covering today. Okay, is it fine? So students, after completing the assertions topic, we had done the audit of share capital, reserve surplus, borrowings, trade receivable, cash equivalents, inventory, PP, intangible asset, all are what? Balance sheet items. With respect to share capital and with respect to borrowings, I have left certain notes, which I'll be doing it right now. PPE and intangible notes we have already done, right? After intangible, today we'll be doing what? Trade payables. Okay. Then loans and advances. There is note related to loans and advances also. And then if time will permit, provisions and contingent liability. After completing all these, our balance sheet captions will be completed. Thereafter, we will move to what? The income statement captions. Okay? Income expense statement captions, the revenue items. Okay? Chalo, Priyanka is saying that, ma'am, while I was revising, there were no doubts, which is very good. Okay? So students, see, in the amended Schedule 3, which was effective from 1st April 2021, there were certain additional regulatory information that the companies were required to give in their financial statements. So the disclosure requirements that are given in Part 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013 is there, which we have discussed ki share capital ko aise disclose karna hai, reserves and surplus ka disclosure is this. We have done the disclosure with respect to all the balance sheet items which we have covered so far. But there are certain additional regulatory information which the company is required to give with respect to various items of financial statement. Okay? Now let us first start with that additional regulatory information relating to what? Borrowings. whatever information with respect to borrowings is to be given. Let us first start that, है ना? तो borrowings का जो disclosure है वो तो आएगा ही, है ना? The way it is given in part 1 schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013, which we have discussed in our earlier session. Apart from that, as the name suggests, additional regulatory information that the company is required to give, ठीक है? And students, when we will be doing chapter number 10, है ना? You will see that we will do CARO 2020 in detail. है ना? Companies Auditors Report Order 2020 in detail. There you will see that here it is in chapter number 9, it is the responsibility of the management to give this additional regulatory information. That is it is the responsibility of the company to give the additional regulatory information. In chapter number 2, when we will be doing CARO 2020, you will see that CARO 2020 has certain responsibilities on the auditor to check all these additional regulatory information. So first of all, the responsibility is on the management or the company to themselves disclose as to this additional regulatory information. Hana? Once the company discloses, now there is a responsibility on auditor under CARO 2020 to verify all such regulatory information, whether these are correct or not. है ना? So what are these information? तो अभी हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं कि मैनेजमेंट को कैसे डिस्क्लोज करना है additional regulatory information in their notes. है ना? Now, where the company has borrowings from banks or financial institutions on the basis of security of current assets. If the company has taken any, let's say the cash CC limit, cash credit limits, on the security of, let's say, stock or debtors, in that case, the company shall itself disclose what? 2 points. Whether quarterly returns or statements of current assets filed by the company with banks or financial institutions are in agreement with the books of accounts. And if not, summary of reconciliation and reasons for material discrepancy, if any, to be adequately disclosed. So what is this? So it basically says, let's say A Limited is our client and it has taken, let's say, the CC limit borrowing of what? 5 crore from a bank, and as a security, the company has given its what? Inventory. Hana? So the company will be required to file quarterly returns with the bank. Quarterly returns of what? The quantity of stock, the amount of stock that is present with the company, A Limited. Hana? So the company has to itself mention in as additional regulatory information as to whether such quarterly statements or the returns of current assets, the inventories or the stocks which have been given as a security for that borrowing, whether these are in agreements with the books of accounts. So agar inventory statement mein total kitna hai 5 CR, aise to nahi hai that in the books of accounts it is actually 4 CR. अब देखो कंपनी खुद से ही ये डिस्क्लोज करेगा कि देखो देयर इज अ डिस्क्रिपेंसी, एंड इफ नॉट, इफ देयर इज अ डिस्क्रिपेंसी, अ समरी ऑफ रिकंसिलिएशन एंड द रीजंस ऑफ मटेरियल डिस्क्रिपेंसी इफ एनी इज टू बी एडिक्वेटली डिस्क्लोज्ड. सो नाउ देयर इज अ रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑन द कंपनी इटसेल्फ to disclose if the quarterly returns are not matching with the figures that are appearing in the financial statement, and what are the reasons for the material discrepancies. Under CARO 2020, we will see that there is a responsibility on the auditor to check. There is a responsibility on the auditor to check whether this has been done appropriately or not. There are certain limits which we will be doing in chapter number 10 in detail. तो समझ आता है अभी हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? हमने सब पढ़ा that अगर शेयर कैपिटल इशू करना है, sorry, this is with respect to borrowings. If there are loans, borrowings that the company has taken, then ये वाला agreement check करना है, loan agreement check करना है, schedule लेना है, all that is fine. The disclosure requirements are also given in schedule 3 part 1, but these are what? Additional regulatory information. So this is given by the Companies Act, the schedule 3 to the Companies Act. So the companies are required to follow it, right? And the auditor will be verifying it. So is it clear? Where the company has taken any borrowings as whereby security of current assets like your inventories, your stock, your debtors are given, then whether quarterly returns are in agreement with the books of accounts, and if not, then the reconciliation and the reason for the same. Is it clear? Is it clear? Quickly tell me. है ना? तो कंपनी के ऊपर ही रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ गई है. सी ऑडिटर नीड्स टू बी अलर्ट ऑल द टाइम. ऑडिटर को तो अपना काम करना ही है जो कैरी 2020 में दिया है, एंड अदरवाइज ऑल्सो. बट फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज देयर ऑन द management. So this was the first additional regulatory information that the company is required to give when the company has borrowings from banks, financial institution on the basis of security of current assets. ठीक है? Quickly send in your replies whether it is clear or not. Shall we proceed further? Yes. First and foremost, it is the responsibility of the management, but you all know that auditor will not just rely on the disclosures on the regulatory additional information that are disclosed by the management. Auditor will verify each and everything. Okay. Second, willful defaulter. Quickly tell me, what do you understand by the term willful? Willful. Quickly, I need answers. I am waiting for your replies. See, these are very easy, very interesting, and most importantly, very, 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 very important. 3 marks, 3 marks का question straightforward आपको आ सकता है. That with respect to willful defaulter, what are the, if the company is a willful defaulter, what are the additional regulatory information that the company should give? So it is what? Intentional, intentional or knowingly, है ना? और डिफॉल्ट करना मतलब क्या है? इफ द कंपनी हैज नॉट पेड द प्रिंसिपल और द इंटरेस्ट, है ना? तो इसका क्या मतलब है अगर दोनों वर्ड्स को कंबाइन करें? दैट ए लिमिटेड ने जानबूझकर इंटेंशनली रीपे नहीं किया, इंटेंशनली डिफॉल्ट किया है. ठीक है? सो first let us have a look at this clause from the module and then we will discuss. So willful defaulter, है ना? Willful क्या है? Intentional. Defaulter you all know. So willful defaulter here means a person or an issuer who or which is categorized as a willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution. So students, if you are aware that Vijay Mallya was declared as a willful defaulter by IDBI, है ना? So willful defaulter, a person or insurer, issuer who or which is categorized as a willful defaulter by a bank or financial institution in accordance with guidelines of willful defaulters issued by RBI. ठीक है? So see now, here the responsibility is on the company itself to disclose as an additional regulatory information that yes, we are willful defaulter. We have intentionally defaulted in the repayment of the principal amount or the interest. है ना? So where a company is a declared willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution or other lender. I gave you example of Vijay Mallya, है ना? So the bank IDBI declared him as what? Willful defaulter. Then following details shall be given by the company. Date of declaration as willful defaulter and the details of defaults. That is, what were the amounts and the nature of defaults. So date of declaration as willful defaulter and the details of defaulters, the amount and nature of defaults. See, students, so here the company is purposefully, intentionally defaulting in the repayment or the repayment of the principal or the payment of the interest. So when the company is required to by themselves mention as an additional regulatory information that they have defaulted, see, it will be a very useful information for the shareholders. Based on such disclosure, the shareholders are now going to take informed decisions. है ना? Based on this information, like this information is going to impact the public image of the company. कि देखो, this company is taking funds from the bank and it is not repaying it intentionally. है ना. तो now there is a responsibility on the company itself by the amended schedule 3 to declare to disclose as an additional regulatory information if they have been declared as a willful defaulter by bank or financial institution. And what are the information that is to be disclosed? The date of declaration as willful defaulter and the details of the defaults, like what were the defaults, why were they declared as willful defaulter by the bank or the financial institution, the amount and the nature of the default, है ना. तो समझ आ रहा है. अब क्या हो रहा है दैट कंपनी को ही शेड्यूल 3 ने बोल दिया कि ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन आप खुद से डिस्क्लोज करो, है ना. So the companies itself, yes, Ramnivas is saying, ma'am, willingly, which is absolutely correct. Mr. Krishnan is saying, ma'am, deliberately, which is also absolutely correct. Okay. So Khojema is asking, ma'am, what are going to be the consequences? See, there is a pressure on management now, na? ऐसी थोड़ी ना मैनेजमेंट कैन जस्ट डिफॉल्ट इन रीपेमेंट और द पेमेंट ऑफ एनी ऑफ द ऑब्लिगेशंस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू लोन्स एंड बोरोविंग्स. अगर आप कोई रीपेमेंट या पेमेंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में डिफॉल्ट होता है, देन दे विल हैव टू देमसेल्व्स डिक्लेयर दैट देखो हमें विलफुल डिफॉल्टर डिक्लेयर किया गया है, विच इज गोइंग टू हैव एन इम्पैक्ट on their public image of the company. The shareholders are now going to take more informed decision with respect to whether to further invest in this company or not, है ना. So Khojima, I hope this doubt is clear. ठीक है. So understood. So we have discussed two additional regulatory information. First is what? Where the company has taken any borrowing whereby security of current assets is given from a bank or financial institution. And second is where the company has been declared as a willful defaulter by a bank or financial institution. कि देखो बैंक क्या declare करेगा कि देखो this company has itself defaulted, willingly defaulted in the payment of our interest or the repayment of the principal amount. ठीक है. Is it clear? Quickly, I need answers, then we'll proceed further with the third point. Quickly, students, I'm waiting for your replies. See, the bank or financial institution, judge, the bank or financial institution, देखो जिस बैंक या financial institution से लोन लिया है, आपने उसको repay नहीं किया, and the bank is aware that willingly you have defaulted, so the bank or the financial institution is going to declare that party as a willful defaulter na, in terms of the guidelines given by RBI. It is mentioned here na. See, it is mentioned here na, that here it means a person or issuer who is categorized as a willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution in accordance with the guidelines on willful defaulters issued by RBI. है ना? Is it clear, Josh? So students are saying clear. Alok, Pranav, Ayushi, Mr. Mishra, Priyanka, Manisha Ben, Yatiraj. ठीक है? So yes, Khojema, it will include. ठीक है? Because it is applicable to a company where, see, we are abhi talking about what? Division 1. है ना? To the companies to which Ind AS is not applicable. There are certain reporting requirements with respect to Division 2 and Division 3 also. But in your syllabus, you have Division 1 only. That is the companies to which Ind AS are not applicable. Clear, Mr. Khojema? No, Dhyanesh, the company cannot sell such securities and with respect to your query, in chapter number 12, when you will be doing audit of banks, your query will be more clear. ठीक है, तो अभी I'm not taking up this topic, but chapter number 12 में your query will be very well answered by the respective faculty. ठीक है. Now the third point, registration of charges or satisfaction with the registrar of borrowings. So abhi what we are doing, students, the regulatory, additional regulatory information with respect to what? Borrowings. Hana? So as such, in this amendment given in schedule 3, various points are given like consecutively, like 14 points are given. So in your module, for the simplicity, these have been written after the particular topic to which they relate. Okay? So the third point is what? Registration of charges or satisfaction with registrar of companies. Now my next question to you, quickly tell me what is meant by registration of charges. Charges क्या होते हैं? Quickly, I need answers. I'll wait for 10 seconds, then I'll proceed. Students, I need answer. So Yatiraj, where is this word mentioned? Please specify, then I'll be able to answer to your query. So registration of charges or satisfaction with registrar of companies. See, students, when any loan is taken and any asset, fixed asset is given as a security, so a charge will be created with respect to that security, and such charge shall be registered with the registrar of companies, right? Same way, when any loan is repaid, then there will be what? Such charge shall be satisfied. That is, that charge will be removed from that security. And there are certain statutory period during which this process needs to be done. So in this clause, see, just read it with me, where any charges or satisfaction yet to be registered with the registrar of companies beyond the statutory period, the details and reasons thereof shall be disclosed. So here the company is required to disclose by itself that dekho, the company is going to give this additional regulatory information by itself that see, there is a delay in registration of charges or the satisfaction of charge with the registrar of companies, and these are the details and these are the reasons. है ना? तो अब देखो, this is a responsibility on the company itself. कि कंपनी को खुद से ही बताना है कि अगर रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ चार्जेस वाज टू बी डन विद द रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनीज तो कितना डिले हुआ है, what are the reasons. Same way, if any charge was to be satisfied, then कितना डिटेल हुआ है, what are the details of the delay and the reasons. है ना? Is it clear? ठीक है, absolutely correct. ठीक है, satisfaction of charge, Mr. Mishra, you are saying, which is absolutely correct. So the statutory period that has been defined, so within that period, if the same has not been done, तो अब कंपनी को खुद से डिस्क्लोज करना है. ऑडिटर को क्या करना? ऑडिटर इज गोइंग टू वेरीफाई दैट कि whether such additional regulatory information has been given or not. Right? Is it clear? ठीक है. Yes, Pritika, you are absolutely correct. So Pritika is saying, ma'am, charges are created on the assets which are kept as security against any loan to avoid any fraud by taking multiple loans on the same asset. Yes. So अगर company ने ऐसा नहीं किया है within the statutory period or be it the satisfaction of charges with registrar of companies, then the details and the reasons. देखो ये सब interesting है ना और बहुत logical है. So if you get a question that during the course of audit, you are the auditor of so and so company, and during the course of audit, while you were going through the fixed asset register, you saw that there are certain charges that were created during the year. So what are the disclosure requirements with respect to registrar of charges? What audit procedures you will perform? So what will you mention? That auditor will see whether the registrar, or I as an auditor will see whether the registration of the charges with ROC has been done within the statutory period as is required. And if not, I as an auditor am going to verify what the additional regulatory information that is given, that is the details and the reasons thereof. So easy है ना? ठीक है? So this was the third additional regulatory information. Okay, is it clear? Now let us do the fifth one and then we will complete the fourth one also. So where the company has not used the borrowings from the banks or financial institution for the specific purpose for which it was taken, as at the balance sheet date, the company shall disclose the details of details of where they have been used. The purpose for which loan has been taken, for which the company has taken the borrowing, it has not been utilized for that purpose, but for some other purpose. अब company को खुद से ही disclose करना है कि देखो हमने ऐसा किया है. है ना? So where the company has not used the borrowings from the bank's financial institution for the specific purpose for which it was taken in the balance sheet date, the company shall disclose the details where the same has been used, है ना? Auditor क्या करेगा? Auditor will verify that. Further, with respect to all these points, you will see that there is corresponding reporting requirements on the auditor as per CARO 2020, which we will be doing in chapter number 10, है ना? तो जिसने यहाँ पर बहुत अच्छे से ये नोट समझ लिए ना, for that student, chapter number 10 is going to be a cakewalk. Why? Because here we are studying that what are the additional regulatory information for the management. Chapter number 10 में we will be studying कि वही information को CARO 2020 में कैसे report करना है after verifying, है ना? So listen to these points very carefully. Quickly tell me all 4 points clear. Just write 4 and clear. ठीक है? Then we'll start with the last point, which is given in your module. Utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. Utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. Okay? So, quickly send in your replies whether these points are clear that we have covered so far. Yes. So, oh, that's great. All of you are saying it is clear. But can you explain 4th point again? Just, I think you are talking about the 5th point, which is what? I'm repeating this point, students. So this is what additional regulatory information that the company has to mention by itself. The company is now required by the amended Schedule 3 to disclose by itself to give as additional regulatory information that the borrowings, the purpose for which the company has taken the borrowings, the company has not utilized that borrowing for that purpose. If any loan of 1 CR has been taken for, let's say, for construction of some building, it has not been used for that purpose. Hana, it has not been used for that purpose. Now the company is itself required to disclose it. Hana? So see, in some points se kya hoga na? Ab there is what pressure on the management, on the company to themselves follow the rules and regulations that they are required to follow. Otherwise, they will have to disclose by that themselves कि देखो हमने ये सब गलती की है. And under CARO 2020, which we will be doing in chapter number 10, the auditor is going to verify them and report on such matters under the reporting requirements under CARO 2020. Okay? Is it clear? So, Josh, I hope the point is clear. See, Khojima, consortium. Consortium, वैसे तो this topic you will be doing in detail in chapter number 12. So consortium is where like 2 or more banks, they come together to give a loan to a party. Let's say the loan is for 500 CR. Now one bank do not want to take such a huge risk. So 4-5 banks will come together. They will make a consortium to give loan to that particular party, whereby one bank will be a lead bank. He will lead this consortium. Okay? This concept is going to be much more clear to you in chapter number 12. Okay? Khojema, is it clear? Is chapter ke liye itna hi you need to understand. Yes, Yatiraj. This is not as per rules and regulations. So Yatiraj is saying, ma'am, using a loan for a purpose other than the specific purpose for which loan has been taken, it is not allowed. Yes. So that is why the management will be now alert. There is a pressure on the management, on the company itself, कि जिस चीज के लिए आपने लोन लिया है उसी के लिए यूज करो. अदरवाइज आपको यूजर्स ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट को, शेयर होल्डर्स को खुद ही बताना पड़ जाएगा कि देखो हमने ड्यूरिंग द ईयर ये किया है ना? एंड ऑन द टॉप ऑफ इट, the cherry on the cake is what? The CARO 2020, whereby all such things will be what? Reported by the auditor. Okay? So, Yatiraj, you are absolutely correct. See, Pritika, the auditor will be able to know as to whether the loan has been utilized for that specific purpose or not. He will be performing various audit procedures. Now, he will be looking at the various vouchers, expense vouchers, the purchase invoice. अब आपने construction कर रहे हो आप, तो आप उसके लिए कुछ खर्चा करोगे ना, उसके evidence होंगे ना. So, auditor will obviously going to verify all these things. ठीक है? So, I hope student everything is clear. Your doubts are clear. ठीक है. Now with respect to the last point, which is utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. Now students, you will see that this point is given as notes in your module under share capital also and borrowing also. Why? Because this points relate to what? Borrowed funds, that is borrowing, and securities premium, that is related to what? Share capital, reserves and surplus. Hana? So as such, in schedule 3 I have told you that there is a sequence of 14 points that the company has to give the additional regulatory information with respect to the balance sheet captions. So for simplicity, for your understanding, in the module these points have been given with the related topic. समझ आते हैं? Yes, Neha, I'm trying to make this topic very interesting and very easy for you. ठीक है? So Sneha is saying, ma'am, thank you for explaining these topics in such an easy manner. So thank you, Sneha, for your motivating message. But I really want you people to, I really want this topic should get imbibed in you. Why? This topic is very, very important. Particularly these recent amendments in schedule 3, these notes, है ना? And these are very simple. हाँ, आपको एक बारी समझना पड़ेगा, आपको मॉड्यूल को रीड करना पड़ेगा. Then I am sure that you are going to, write these answers if you get any question with respect to this topic with ease. ठीक है? Now the next point, utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. ठीक है? So let's say A Limited is my client. ठीक है? पहले एक बारी समझते हैं इस पॉइंट में है क्या, then we will go through the module what is it is written. So now if A Limited has funds, है ना, maybe these are borrowed funds or securities premium, or you will see that in the explanation it is given, or any other fund, any other kind of fund. ठीक है? A Limited has given these funds to XYZ Limited, and XYZ Limited in the requirement that is given in your module, it has been called what? Intermediary. ठीक है? So A Limited give its funds to XYZ Limited with an understanding that XYZ Limited, you invest these funds in another company on my behalf. A Limited has given certain funds to XYZ Limited, being referred to as an intermediary here, on an understanding, whether in writing or otherwise, that XYZ Limited will invest such funds in another company on behalf of A Limited. So ultimate beneficiary कौन है यहाँ? A Limited. So let me just explain this in हिंदी. तो A Limited के पास जो borrowed funds या security premium का पैसा है ना, या other funds का, A Limited ने वो खुद से ना अनदर कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करके पहले वो फंड किसको दिया? XYZ लिमिटेड को, जिसको हम इंटरमीडियरी बोल रहे हैं. XYZ लिमिटेड को ये बोला कि अब आप इस फंड को हमारे बिहाफ पे, लिमिटेड के बिहाफ पे अनदर कंपनी में कर दो इन्वेस्ट, या हमारे बिहाफ पे आप अनदर कंपनी को कोई गारंटी दे दो. ठीक है? सी why is this additional regulatory information requirement being imposed on a company? अब कंपनी को खुद से बताना है कि देखो we are diverting our funds, है ना? तो shareholders will be able to check the flow of money. उनको पता चलेगा ना कि मैनेजमेंट, बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स कर क्या रहे हैं. वो फंड्स उन्होंने इंटरमीडियरी में दिए हैं विद एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि इंटरमीडियरी उनके बिहाफ पर आगे उसको इन्वेस्ट कर दे. So company is diverting the funds, and now there is a additional regulatory information requirement on the company itself कि company अगर ऐसा कुछ किया है तो आप खुद ही उसको additional regulatory information में बताएंगे. ठीक है? Is it clear? Now for all those who are saying कि मैम इससे फायदा क्या होगा, देखो जितना भी disclosure है, it will keep a check on the फ्लो ऑफ मनी ना, या इट विल कीप अ चेक ऑन द मैनेजमेंट ना कि देखो भैया ठीक से काम करो, नहीं तो तुम्हें ही डिस्क्लोज करना पड़ेगा एज एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी इंफॉर्मेशन कि आपने क्या किया पूरे साल में. आपने फंड डाइवर्ट किए हैं, आपने स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए यूज किया या नहीं, जिसके लिए लोन लिया था, ठीक है। सो इज इट क्लियर? सो ठीक है, तो अब डिस्क्लोज क्या करना है, ये सिचुएशन है तो क्या डिस्क्लोज करना है, क्या सिचुएशन, आई रिपीट इट अगेन, कि ए लिमिटेड ने अपना जो बोरोड फंड्स है या सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम का जो फंड है वो एक्स वाई जेड लिमिटेड को दिया, जो कि क्या है इंटरमीडियरी, और उसको ये बोला इन राइटिंग और अदरवाइज कि आप किसी और कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट कर दो या आप किसी और कंपनी को गारंटी दे दो हमारे बिहाफ पे। तो अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी कौन है, ए लिमिटेड, बट काम कौन कर रहा है, एक्स वाई जेड लिमिटेड, किसके बिहाफ पे, ए लिमिटेड के बिहाफ पे। क्लियर? अब डिस्क्लोज क्या करना है, A Limited is going to give an additional regulatory information of the date and amount of such transfer to intermediary, कि A Limited ने कब ट्रांसफर किया, डेट एंड अमाउंट। फर्दर XYZ Limited ने कब ट्रांसफर किया टू अनदर कंपनी, उसका भी डेट एंड अमाउंट। तो अब खुद से ही डिस्क्लोज करना है A Limited को as additional regulatory information. Is it clear? नहीं, अभी in this we are talking about A Limited. तो अभी डिस्क्लोजर या एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी इंफॉर्मेशन किसकी बात हो रही है, A Limited को, कि अगर A Limited ने अपना कुछ पैसा डाइवर्ट किया है तो A Limited को खुद ही बताना है। खोजेमा, इज इट क्लियर? हाँ, किसका स्क्रीनशॉट लेना है? Anuradha, if you want to take a screenshot of this diagram, you can always take it. ठीक है? So let us just have a look at it from the module. देखो बहुत अच्छे से समझ आएगा ये, आई एम श्योर, है ना। एंड आफ्टर वी कंप्लीट दिस 4 पॉइंट ना, आई वांट ऑल ऑफ यू टू रिप्लाई कि बहुत अच्छे से समझ आया या नहीं। तो देखो हमने क्या बोला, ए लिमिटेड के पास पैसा था जो एक्स वाई जेड लिमिटेड को दिया गया कि अनदर कंपनी में जाके इन्वेस्ट कर दो या अनदर कंपनी को गारंटी दे दो, लेकिन हमारे बिहाफ पे, ठीक है। तो हमने बोला इसका डेट अमाउंट और इसका डेट अमाउंट डिस्क्लोज करना है, सिंपल सी बात है। तो देखो, वेयर अ कंपनी कौन है, ए लिमिटेड, हैज एडवांस्ड और लोन और इन्वेस्टेड फंड्स, ईदर बोरोड फंड्स और शेयर प्रीमियम और एनी अदर सोर्सेज और काइंड ऑफ फंड्स। तो यहां पर तो बोरोड एंड शेयर बोलता है, प्रीमियम बोलता है, बट यहाँ पे क्या आ गया, अदर सोर्सेज और काइंड ऑफ फंड्स। सो ये कहां से आया है, ये शेड्यूल 3, अमेंडेड शेड्यूल 3 से आया है। टू एनी पर्सन or entities including foreign entity, so this XYZ Limited can be a foreign entity. Let's say A Limited ने XYZ Limited which is in Mauritius, इसको बोला कि ये लो हमारा पैसा और इसको आगे इन्वेस्ट कर दो, है ना, which is called what, intermediary। तो intermediary कौन है यहाँ, XYZ Limited, with an understanding whether recorded in writing or otherwise that the intermediary shall, that is XYZ Limited shall, क्या करेगा, डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली लेंड और इन्वेस्ट इन अदर पर्सन्स और एंटिटी आइडेंटिफाइड इन any manner whatsoever by or in behalf of company which is the ultimate beneficiary। other person कौन है यहाँ, जो, चलो इसको लिख देते हैं M, है ना, कि M में इन्वेस्ट करना है, ठीक है। और टू प्रोवाइड अ गारंटी, सिक्योरिटी और लाइक ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी, कौन है ये, ए लिमिटेड के बिहाफ पे देना है, ठीक है। द कंपनी, अब कंपनी कौन है हमारी, ए लिमिटेड, शैल डिस्क्लोज द फॉलोइंग, समझ आता है क्या डिस्क्लोज करना है, द डेट एंड अमाउंट ऑफ फंड एडवांस लोन्स इन्वेस्टेड टू इंटरमीडियरीज इन इंटरमीडियरीज विथ कंप्लीट डिटेल्स ऑफ ईच इंटरमीडियरी। तो ये वाले डेट एंड अमाउंट इंटरमीडियरी को जब दिया, ठीक है, द डेट अमाउंट ऑफ फंड फर्दर एडवांस्ड बाय सच इंटरमीडियरीज टू अदर इंटरमीडियरीज और अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरीज अलॉन्ग विद द कंप्लीट डिटेल्स ऑफ अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरीज। अब यहां पर जब डेट एंड अमाउंट, तो दिस इज टू बी मेंशन the date amount of guarantee, security or like provided to or on behalf of the ultimate beneficiary। अगर कोई सिक्योरिटी दिया है या कोई गारंटी दिया है then that is to be mentioned। समझ आता है, ये डायग्राम याद रखना, बहुत अच्छे से समझ आएगा। and on the top of it you will be able to write the answer। ये डायग्राम याद है ना कि A लिमिटेड अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियर है, XYZ लिमिटेड इंटरमीडियरी है, अनदर कंपनी क्या है, अदर पर्सन है, तो यू विल बी एबल टू राइट द आंसर। हिंदी में, इंग्लिश में जैसे समझ आता है कि ए लिमिटेड का बोरोड फंड्स या इन्वेस्टेड फंड या एनी अदर काइंड ऑफ सोर्सेज है, जो उसने किसको बोला, इंटरमीडिएट XYZ लिमिटेड को, जो कि फॉरेन कंपनी में भी हो सकता है, जैसे मॉरिशियस बेस्ड कंपनी भी हो सकती है, विद एन अंडरस्टैंडिंग राइटिंग और अदरवाइज दैट intermediary XYZ Limited should directly or indirectly invest in other companies, but what, on behalf of the ultimate beneficiary. Same way, provide guarantee security like on behalf of ultimate beneficiary. Then the company, that is A Limited, shall disclose what, the date and amount of when the loan fund is advanced loan to each of such intermediary, with complete detail of each intermediary, date, amount and complete details, है ना, कि XYZ Limited है क्या. Same way, the amount, date and complete details of what, the persons in whom the company has invested or given a guarantee. Abhi ruko, this is not clear. Fourth point says that, see students, when the funds are transferred from one country to other, so FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act lag jata hai. ठीक है? So I gave you example of what, Mauritius, है ना? Also, when the funds are transferred from one place to another, तो prevention of money laundering act is also applicable. देखो money laundering क्या होता है? So basically, money laundering is what, it has been used to hide the illegal source of income. किसी का illegal source of income से money आया है, you are diverting it to some legitimate business. आप अपना source of income disclose नहीं कर रहे हो, money laundering. So there is an act by the name Prevention of Money Laundering Act, है ना? So the company A Limited is going to give a declaration that the relevant provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act, why FEMA is applicable, because now because it is mentioned that intermediary can be what, foreign entity also, है ना? So when the funds are transferred from one country to other, so the provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999 are to be complied with. So the company is going to give a declaration by itself, है ना? So a declaration that the relevant provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act, Companies Act have been complied with. तो FEMA को comply किया है हमने, Companies Act को comply किया है, and the transactions are not violative of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, है ना? So what is money laundering? I have told you that where the person tries to conceal the origin of the income, source of income illegal है, लेकिन उसको you are diverting it to legitimate business, है ना? So that should not happen. So a declaration the company is required to give by itself, है ना? So अब देखो, अगर कंपनी कोई भी पैसा डाइवर्ट कर रही है, now there is a additional regulatory information that is to be given by the company itself, है ना? कंपनी खुद डिक्लेयर करेगी कि देखो हमने पहले पैसा मॉरिशियस में इस एंटिटी को दिया, एंड इस एंटिटी ने फर्दर ये पैसा यहाँ पर इन्वेस्ट किया और आर बिहाफ. ठीक है? Is it clear? Let us have a look at this point again. And yes, Anuradha, you can take a screenshot of this. You can just take a screenshot of this. I'll wait for 5 seconds. So Dhyanesh, ultimate beneficiary A Limited हुआ ना, और for that reason another company भी, तो ultimately another company और A Limited के बीच में तो transactions हो रही है ना. Is it clear? ठीक है. So let us have a look at the module again. So it basically, this point basically says, देखो ये borrowings आपने किए हैं, या कोई securities share premium का amount है, या कोई भी fund है जिसको the company is trying to divert through any intermediary, and that intermediary can be what, a foreign entity. So here the company is itself required to give as additional regulatory information the date, the amount and the complete details of such intermediary, date, amount of the period when the company has given that fund to the intermediary first, the date, the amount when that intermediary has further advanced invested that fund in the another company, along with the complete details, right? Further, if any guarantee security has been given on behalf of A Limited, then that is also to be mentioned. Further, the last point, A Limited, in our example, is going to declare that FEMA के relevant provisions have been complied with. Why FEMA? Because हमने देखा that foreign entity हो सकती है. So when funds are transferred from one country to another, तो FEMA के provisions are applicable. So whether these have been complied with. Companies Act के requirement have been complied with, and these transactions are not violative of PMLA, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Is it clear? So I'm repeating it again. This disclosure requirement is for the company, which in our case is what? A Limited. Jyoti, is it clear? Yes, Manisha मैम, you are absolutely correct. कंपनी को खुद से ही बताना है कि देखो हमने ड्यूरिंग द ईयर ये सब किया है. अब देखो शेयर होल्डर्स, दिस इंफॉर्मेशन इज so important for the shareholders. After having known that what the company has done with the funds that are available with the company, the shareholders will be in a position to take much more informed decision. है ना? Is it clear? ठीक है. Now this was what? A point, utilization of borrowed funds and share premium. What is the B point? You can consider B point is exactly the other side of this point. What is meant by that? So here, A Limited, जो वहां पर हमारा क्या था, द कंपनी अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी, जिसने अपना पैसा कहीं पर दिया था XYZ लिमिटेड को. नाउ इन द P point, A Limited becomes intermediary. A Limited receives a fund from another company. ठीक है, कि A Limited को कोई आके पैसा देता है कि ये लो हमारा पैसा, अब इसको आप आगे हमारे बिहाफ पर इन्वेस्ट कर दो. तो अगर A Limited in this example becomes the A Limited in this example becomes what? The intermediary. Then what are the disclosure requirements? So Jyoti and I hope one more student was there. So now your doubt should be clear. कि disclosure requirements किसके लिए हैं? अभी we are in the first A case we were discussing about what? A Limited, है ना, कि A Limited ने अपना पैसा किसी को दिया है कि further जाके invest कर दो. Then what are the disclosure requirements? ठीक है. Now with respect to this B point, just read it with me. ठीक है, देखो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. ठीक है, where a company has received any fund from any person including foreign entities, तो अब जो वो पार्टी है ना उसको क्या बोल दिया गया? फंडिंग पार्टी. पहले A लिमिटेड था ना फंडिंग पार्टी. ठीक है, with an understanding whether recorded in writing or otherwise that the company shall, अब कौन सी कंपनी? A Limited. यहां पर भी A Limited. ठीक है, फंडिंग पार्टी लेट्स से इसको XYZ कर देते हैं, तो XYZ, that the company shall, that is A Limited shall directly or indirectly lend or invest in other persons in any manner on behalf of funding party. अब अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी कौन हो गया है? XYZ लिमिटेड. ठीक है, अदर पर्सन में कौन इन्वेस्ट करने वाला है? अब A Limited. And this funding party can be what? A foreign entity also, or provide any guarantee, security or like on behalf of the ultimate beneficiary. मतलब XYZ Limited के behalf पे अगर कोई guarantee, security देनी है, then the company shall, company तो हमारी कौन है? A Limited. A Limited shall disclose the following: the date, amount of fund received from the funding parties, date, the amount and complete details. यही disclose किया था ना जब receive किया है. Same with date, amount and the complete details. Date, amount of fund further advanced to other intermediaries, ultimate beneficiaries, along with complete details of other intermediaries. देखो ultimate beneficiaries क्यों बोला गया? क्योंकि इसका पैसा है, इसके पास जा रहा है. तो अल्टीमेट पार्टीज कौन है जिनके बीच में ट्रांजैक्शन हो रही है? XYZ एंड अदर कंपनी, है ना. ठीक है, एंड डेट और अमाउंट ऑफ गारंटी. ठीक है, सिमिलरली अ डिक्लेरेशन, तो A लिमिटेड क्या डिक्लेरेशन देगा? दैट द रेलेवेंट प्रोविजंस ऑफ FEMA, कंपनीज एक्ट, PMLA एक्ट आर कंप्लाइड विद, देयर इज नो कॉन्ट्रवेंशन विद, नो वायलेशन ऑफ प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एक्ट, है ना. सो बेसिकली इफ आई जस्ट टेक दिस एग्जांपल, है ना, तो पहले वाले क्लॉज में, A वाले पॉइंट में जस्ट अ मिनट. जो ए पॉइंट है आपका, वहां पर ए लिमिटेड की डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स बताई गई हैं, एंड सेकंड पॉइंट में बी लिमिटेड की डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स बताई गई हैं. इज इट क्लियर? Is it clear? Hana? And students have tried to simplify it for you. And I expect that some part of the learning, देखो 100% understanding should be there. Then only I will move ahead. But some part of the learning must also have been done. Okay? So this was with respect to the utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. Hana? So let me just have a look at the queries of all of you, and in case any queries still there, please send in your queries. These 5 notes, I'm repeating it again, these additional regulatory information are very very important. Straightforward 3 mark 4 mark question aapko aa sakta hai that what are the additional regulatory information that the company is required to give. Let's say when the company is a willful defaulter, or where their funds are being utilized with respect to utilization of borrowed funds and securities premium. Okay? So let me just have a look at your queries. And I told you कि after we complete this 4 point, I need replies from all of you whether you have understood or not. ध्यानेश, जो आप लिख रहे हो फंडिंग पार्टी के ऊपर, तो ये ए वाला पॉइंट लग ही जाएगा ना, तो उसको तो ये वाला डिस्क्लोजर देना ही है. इज इट क्लियर ध्यानेश? So Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, understood. See, it applies. See, Lakshmi, see what is mentioned here. So let me just, it says borrowed funds, share premium, or any other sources or kinds of fund. Okay? Lakshmi, is it clear? So Manisha Ben is saying, ma'am, very well understood. Chalo, that is good. Okay? So I hope these requirements are clear. The additional regulatory information, and I'm repeating it again, very, very important and very, very interesting and very, very easy also. Okay? So additional reporting requirements we have done with respect to borrowings. And I told you that since this 4th point relates to what? The securities premium also. So this same point is mentioned in your module under share capital notes also. So why is this mentioned? Because ये borrowed funds and securities premium दोनों के लिए applicable है. ठीक है? So first point, where the company has taken any borrowings from banks or financial institution on the basis of security of current assets, तो company को क्या disclose करना है? That whether the quarterly retains or statements that are filed with the banks or financial institution, whether they are agreement with the books of accounts. मतलब अगर आपने वहां पर लिखा है कि 5 CR का आपके पास stock है, तो actually financial statements में भी वही amount है या नहीं? And if it is not, then the reason and the reconciliation for the same. Second में हमने क्या देखा? If a company has been declared as a willful defaulter by a bank or financial institution, तो company को क्या additional regulatory information देना है? That what is the date of such declaration and the details, that is the amount and the nature. Registration of charges and satisfaction with ROC. If the same is not done within the statutory period, then what are the details and the reasons for the same? ठीक है? यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ बोरो फंड्स एंड सिक्योरिटीज प्रीमियम हमने बहुत डिटेल में किया है. नहीं समझ आया तो यू कैन ऑलवेज सेंड इन योर रिप्लाई. ज्योति, आई विल रिपीट विलफुल डिफॉल्टर अगेन. देखो, अगर कोई कंपनी जो है, it is intentionally, knowingly not making any payment with respect to the principal or the repayment of the principal or payment of the interest, मतलब जानबूझकर, willful क्या होता है? Intentional, knowingly default कर रहा है. And bank, as per RBI guidelines, bank can declare such company as what? Willful defaulter. है ना? तो कंपनी को खुद से बताना है कि द कंपनी हैज बीन डिक्लेयर्ड बाय सो एंड सो बैंक एज अ विलफुल डिफॉल्टर. सो द डेट शैल बी गिवन कि किस डेट से आपको विलफुल डिफॉल्टर डिक्लेयर किया है, एंड द डिटेल्स ऑफ द डिफॉल्ट. ठीक है ज्योति, इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है. यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ फंड्स हमने कर लिया. लास्ट पॉइंट वाज व्हाट, द पर्पस, स्पेसिफिक पर्पस जिसके लिए द लोन वाज टेकन, इफ इट हैज नॉट बीन यूज्ड फॉर दैट पर्पस, सो नाउ देयर इज अ रिस्पांसिबिलिटी ऑन द company itself that they have to disclose. And students, I'm repeating it again and again, this is your foundation for chapter number 10 also. Why? Because yahan par kya hai chapter number 9 mein, that there are certain additional regulatory information requirements on the company, ki company ko kuch information dena hai by itself, है ना. In chapter number 10, when we will be doing company's auditors report order 2020, that is CARO 2020, you will see that there will be reporting requirement for the auditor, कि ऑडिटर को अब वेरीफाई करना है कि ये वाला जो सारा इंफॉर्मेशन है, whether that has been properly shown by the, whether that has been duly shown by the company, है ना. तो अगर आपको यहाँ पर पता है कि क्या इंफॉर्मेशन, एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी इंफॉर्मेशन देना है या क्या डिस्क्लोजर देना है, तो वहां पर आप इजीली देख सकते हो ना कि ऑडिटर को क्या चेक करना है. कि why? Because auditor is going to check what has been disclosed, what information has been given as additional regulatory information by the company under schedule 3. ठीक है? Is it clear? ठीक है. So quickly I'll proceed further once you will give me a thumbs up that you have understood these notes. Very, very important. I'm repeating it again. ठीक है. Now see, with respect to share capital, these notes are given, and I told you that these are as it is the same. And why these are given here also? Because ये borrowed funds की भी बात करते हैं, share premium की भी बात करते हैं. ठीक है. So these are the same notes. So if you look at this, so we have done the notes of share capital, we have done the notes of borrowings also. ठीक है. So borrowings is also done, है ना. With respect to these notes are then given where under, just a minute, with respect to your property, plant and equipment, which we have already covered in the last sessions. I'll just show it to you. ठीक है. So property, plant and equipment. So these are again what your, just a minute. Trade receivables. And students, I have given you to as homework to read what? Trade payables. I hope that you all have gone through it. The topics which were similar to trade receivables, because I'll not be repeating them as such. We have had a discussion, good discussion about them in the last session. So this is PPE. So with respect to the title deeds of immovable property not held in the name of the company, these are again what? The additional regulatory information. तो जो ऊपर disclosure आ रहा है वो तो करना ही है आपको. Apart from that, the company has to give that disclosure, है ना, which is given in schedule 3 part 1, है ना, जो हमने ये सब पढ़ा था last session में. But these are what? The additional regulatory information that the company is required to give in their notes. ठीक है. Is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. Any doubt, anyone? ठीक है. So these are the additional regulatory, and this is also additional regulatory information, whether the revaluation has been done by registered valuer. Same way with respect to capital work in progress, this is again additional regulatory information, है ना. And we have seen that this is almost the same with respect to intangible assets also, and that also, those notes are also what? Additional regulatory information. Let me just show it to you. These are again what? The additional regulatory information that the company is required to give, है ना. तो जो disclosure schedule 3 में है वो तो है ही, but whatever notes with respect to the accounting standards are to be given, that is also to be given. So these are what? Additional regulatory information. In addition to other information, this information is also to be given. ठीक है. So till page number 9.62 we have completed द चैप्टर नंबर 9 इन एंटायरिटी. बहुत डिटेल डिस्कशन किया है, बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस किया है. वी हैव डिस्कस्ड एमसीक्यूज ऑल्सो, है ना. 10 एमसीक्यूज वी हैव डिस्कस सो फार. ठीक है, ठीक है. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be doing with you trade payables and other current liabilities, जिसमें trade payables we have already discussed in our last session. After completing trade payables and other current liabilities, I will be discussing with you other 5 MCQs for today's session. After that, we'll start with loans and advances and other current assets. And if the time will permit, we will start with provisions and contingent liability. Is it clear? Okay. So, Alok, Jyoti, Pranab, Dhyanesh, Jatiraj, Mohammad, Vohra, Ayushi, Manisha Ben, Choksi, Mr. Choksi, Jyoti, and Priyanka are saying, ma'am, absolutely clear. Now, with respect to trade payables and other current liabilities. So, students, in our last session, we have already discussed that the way when the auditor is verifying trade receivables, and that started with getting a comfort over the internal control of sales. Here, when the auditor is verifying trade payables, auditor will first obtain a comfort on the internal control with respect to purchases. है ना? Last session में किया था ना, ये समझ आया था ना? And I've taken you through the entire module जहां पर भी it was same as trade receivables. ठीक है? So एक बारी quickly trade payables को देखते हैं, and I'll do it in a faster speed. Priyanka, I'm telling this beforehand that अभी मेरा speed थोड़ा सा fast रहेगा with respect to trade payables, because हमने last session में detail में discuss किया है, and this is the replica of trade receivables. तो quickly 5-10 minutes लगाते हैं, then we will be doing other current liabilities. ठीक है? ट्रेड पेबल्स क्या है आपका? क्रेडिटर्स, है ना? So, in order to establish the existence, auditor will see what? That there are internal control, that the expense invoice. So, this is talking about current liabilities also. So, the existence. So, the expense invoice or the purchase invoice. Purchase invoice is what? Basically the buyer's copy of sales invoice, है ना? So, these are recorded only once, है ना? And the payable is automatically recorded. Auditor will obtain what? Aging report. And what aging report? Now you all know that how old a creditor is. है ना? इतना पुराना है, 1 साल से ज्यादा, 2 साल से ज्यादा, 3 साल से ज्यादा. What is the reason? Whether it is actually a liability or not, fake तो नहीं है, कोई dispute तो नहीं चल रहा है. So aging report. ठीक है? अब aging पे we have had a good discussion in our earlier sessions. ठीक है? And if there is a difference between that schedule, the aging report total and the balance that is appearing in the general ledger, the auditor will ask the management to reconcile that. Direct confirmation procedure, we have done it, I can say, a number of times. Chapter number 3 में detail में किया, borrowings में किया हमने, trade receivables में किया. So this is exactly the same. ठीक है? तो I'm not doing it here now. ठीक है? I told you that जैसे trade receivables में हम क्या देखते हैं, if let's say external confirmation request is sent to a party, है ना? If it is sent to a debtor and the reply is not received, auditor will perform what? Additional testing. That is, he'll check what? Subsequent receipts, है ना? Here when the auditor is checking trade payables, creditors, है ना? And external confirmation has been sent and replies are not received, he'll check what? Subsequent payments. कि नेक्स्ट ईयर में अप्रैल में कुछ पे किया ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर कोई क्रेडिटर था एज ऑन 31st March, लेट्स से 2022, वैल्यू एट 5 lakhs, and the auditor has sent a confirmation request letter to the creditor, Mr. Ram, कि बताओ भाई आपकी बुक्स में क्या बैलेंस है, and no reply is received. However, on 6th April, let's say 5 lakhs is paid to Mr. Ram. So this automatically shows now that this balance existed as on 31st March 2022, है ना? तो existence assertion confirm हो जाएगा ना? ठीक है? Is it clear? अंडरलाइंग वेंडर इनवॉइसेस, डिटेल्ड एनालिसिस, एग्जामिनेशन इन डेप्थ हमने डिटेल में डिस्कस किया है, दैट फ्रॉम द वेरी बिगिनिंग टिल द वेरी एंड कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शन है, परचेज ट्रांजैक्शन, उसको डिटेल में चेक करो in order to see whether these transactions are actually pertaining to the company, whether these actually exist, है ना. रिलेटेड पार्टी है, ऑथराइजेशन देखना है, रीजनेबलनेस देखना है, आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस देखना है. एआरपी में आप क्या कर सकते हो, ट्रेंड एनालिसिस कर सकते हो, वेरियस कंपैरिजंस यू कैन डू, एंड इन केस ऑफ एनी वेरिएंसेस द सेम कैन बी चेक विद द मैनेजमेंट. कंप्लीटनेस में क्या देखना है, whether all purchases have been accounted for, and more particularly with respect to cut-off procedures. Cut-off क्या होता है, that the transaction relating to the correct accounting period, मतलब यहाँ कट कर दिया ना आपने 31 मार्च को, जो transaction next year में after the cut-off date next year में आना है, तो they have been accounted for in that year, and the transaction that pertain to the year under audit, only those transactions should come. So last 5, or you can say depending upon the operating cycle, last 4-5 days के आप invoices check कर सकते हैं in order to see whether the same should are accounted for in the correct accounting period. ठीक है, supporting documents check करो. That's it. ठीक है, so this was with respect to what, your trade payables. Now with respect to other liabilities, so from here other liabilities is starting, है ना. तो अब I'll slow down my speed. ठीक है, because these are what, these are not a repetition as such which are given in your trade receivables. ठीक है, so expenses. So first of all, what all will be included in other liabilities, other current liabilities. Current liabilities, so what is current liability? So when the liability is to be paid within the next 12 months, है ना. So this is what current liability, right? So give me certain example of current liabilities other than trade payables and creditors. Quickly, students, I need your answer. So basically any short-term debt, है ना, any dividend that is to be paid within 12 months, है ना. So short-term debt, ठीक है, your various statutory liabilities that are to be paid, है ना. So all are these what, other current liabilities. ठीक है, now with respect to that, देखो बहुत logical है. Again, as I always ask you, that visualize yourself as if you are conducting the audit, you are verifying the other current liabilities. ठीक है, तो चलो बताओ, आप खुद बताओ. Let's say if any advance is received from customer, ठीक है, this is also other current liability ना. Yes, short term loan is also a current liability. ठीक है, और statutory dues, ठीक है, like your GST payable, your PF provident fund payable, TDS payable, है ना, ये भी तो सब आपका क्या आ जाएगा, your current liabilities. Now let us just think about all these one by one. बताओ, अगर if any advance is received from a customer, tell me, just try to visualize yourself that you are conducting, you are verifying the financial statements of ABC Limited. During the course of audit, आपको क्या दिखता है, that an advance of let's say 1 lakh is been received by the company, है ना. तो अब क्या verify करोगे? I'm not saying कि इसका existence assertion, completeness assertion. I'm saying that you are verifying advance received from a customer. Logically सोचो कि what all documents come to your mind. Quickly, I need answers. Absolutely correct, students. Aging report say yes, you will be able to know that how old is this advance, है ना. If this advance was received, let's say 3 years ago, अभी तक सेटल नहीं हुआ है, प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म लगाओ ना, और मैनेजमेंट से पूछो ना, इज देयर एनी डिस्प्यूट. ऐसा तो नहीं है that there is some additional liability that is to be paid, कि this is not only 1 lakh, this is a disputed matter whereby the company is required to pay, let's say, additional 2 lakhs, है ना. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन भी ले सकते हैं. करेक्ट ज्योति. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट स्टूडेंट्स. अब आपको समझ आ गया है ना, अब आप आंसर्स खुद फ्रेम कर लेते हो. ठीक है. टेल मी विद रिस्पेक्ट टू स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज, लेट्स से जीएसटी पेबल, इसको कैसे वेरीफाई करोगे? नाउ माय नेक्स्ट question is with respect to GST payable. Quickly, students, I need answers. GST payable, इसको कैसे वेरीफाई करोगे? सो गौरव, खोजेमा, यतिराज, रामनिवास, प्रणव, ज्योति, मोहम्मद, आलोक, ध्यानेश, कृष्णन. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. जो आपने आंसर्स लिखे हैं एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. आलोक, कृतिका. यस, द जीएसटी रिटर्न्स. करेक्ट है ना. और कोई भी आपका टैक्स पे होता है तो देयर आर चलान्स. So a copy of that you can always verify. What else? See, you all have done chapter number 8, analytical review procedures. वहां पर, if you remember, you all must have done a reasonableness test. ठीक है. So auditor can always perform what? Reasonableness test. अब वो होता क्या है डिटेल में हम इसको पढ़ते हैं. But students, what I feel is that before starting with this topic in detail from the module, let us just take a quick break of 10 minutes. After the break, we will be completing this topic, है ना? And we'll be starting with loans and advances, ठीक है? But before going for the break, I want all of you to reply as to whether you are able to understand or not. I can see from your queries that many of you are saying that, ma'am, we are finding it interesting. Please don't take a break. But I need a break. ठीक है? So after 10 minutes, we will meet. And before going for the break, I need at least कुछ तो रिप्लाई करो, है ना? समझ आ रहा है, कैसे समझ आ रहा है, कोई डाउट है ना? So a break of 10 minutes here. So students, welcome back after the break. So I can see there are so motivating messages from all of you. So Pritika is saying that, ma'am, your idea of visualization is super and it is helpful and it makes topic very interesting. I'm also applying these on other subjects. Thank you so much. So Pritika, God bless you. Thank you so much for sending such a motivating message. Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, your topics are understood, but some points which are new are understood when you have experience. So that is good, students. So I'll like take 1 minute to request you to take full advantage of these classes. Hana? So these are a great initiative by our institute, ICAI, Board of Studies, which is for your benefit only. Hana? पर उसके लिए 2.5 घंटा या like 2.5 hours or 3 hours, you will have to sit and listen to these lectures and then you will have to go through the module. These are definitely going to help you, है ना? In my last session, batch number 5 में, students of batch number 4 came, है ना? In order to, say thank you for the techniques that we share. Why? Because they have secured more than 17 audit and they also got rank. I want the same for all of you also, है ना? But उसके लिए पढ़ना पड़ेगा, lectures attend करने पड़ेंगे, modules go through करने पड़ेंगे, smart learning, everything you will have to do. ठीक है? So now let us start with the topic other current liabilities. ठीक है? So other current liabilities, see if GST is payable, है ना? So let's say March का GST payable, it will be paid 2022. It will be paid in the next month, है ना? So it says that subsequent expense voucher check करो, है ना? Let's say if any, just a minute. So you can check the challan that is by which the same has been paid. TDS payable is there. So next month mein when it is paid, check the challan copy, na? ठीक है? So and let's see how to verify the advance receipt from a customer or anything that is received in advance. So first of all, auditor will obtain what customer-wise listing of all the advances from the customer from the company. Aging schedule he'll obtain and he'll see what is the nature with respect to what the advance has been received. He will see whether any advance is outstanding beyond 6 months. है ना? कि 6 महीने से ज्यादा हो गया वो advance, still it is outstanding. He will ask the management if any dispute is there, and auditor will what? He will see whether there is what additional liability. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि dispute है. I gave you example ना कि 1 lakh has been booked as a liability, but in fact it is what additional 2 lakhs. So total liability 3 lakh भी हो सकती है. So is there a need to make some provision? Is there a need to book the liability at 3 lakhs? So what is the case? Auditor will consider and he will verify all the underlying. देखिए underlying word बहुत जगह आता है ना आपके मॉड्यूल में. Underlying documents is what? The basis of the transaction. जो भी आपके documents execute हुए, which forms the basis, the foundation of that transaction, वो सभी documents को auditor is going to check that. Is it clear? ठीक है? Now with respect to statutory dues like your TDS payable, GST payable, PF, ESI payable, so auditor will prepare reasonability with respect to the sales, purchase, employee expense. Quickly tell me reasonability or reasonableness test that you have done in chapter number 8. कोई बताएगा ये क्या होता है? So देखो, अगर आप employee benefit expense आपको पता है, ठीक है, and you apply multiply it by the PF percentage, ठीक है, or if you know the purchases or the sales and you know the GST rate, income पता है और आप TDS rate से multiply कर देते हो, तो आपको क्या पता चलता है? That with respect to such and such income, if we apply this rate, इतना TDS should be deducted. है ना। तो व्हाट इज दिस रीजनेबलनेस, कितना फेयर इनफ है, रीजनेबलनेस टेस्ट, है ना, आपने ऐसे 520 में डिटेल में किया है ना। So auditor will check that, prepare reasonability. In case of any variance, he will discuss the reasons with the management, and if such reasons are found satisfactory, he'll go document them. Auditor will obtain and verify the challans copy. In case of any variance, auditor ke according, let's say 1 lakh of TDS is to be paid, but challan ke according 90,000 is been paid, then what is the difference? ठीक है? And ask the management. And in case of any variance, auditor will ask the management. If reporting under CARO, auditor will make sure that he has met his reporting requirements under CARO. और वो क्या होती हैं with respect to statutory dues? There is a clause under CARO 2020 which requires the auditor to report with respect to the payment of statutory dues, undisputed as well as disputed. What are those requirements? Chapter number 10 में डिटेल में करेंगे. Clear? Any doubt? Simple है ना? ठीक है. तो अभी तक हमने क्या पढ़ा कि एडवांस रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम कस्टमर्स है, और एनी ऑफ द एडवांस विच इज रिसीव्ड इन एनी ऑफ द अमाउंट दैट इज रिसीव्ड इन एडवांस, तो वो भी तो अदर लाइबिलिटीज में आ गया ना आपका. सो ऑडिटर विल ऑब्टेन व्हाट? कस्टमर एजिंग लिस्ट. एजिंग नेचर क्या है? आउटस्टैंडिंग है बियॉन्ड 6 months? इफ यस, डिस्कस विद द मैनेजमेंट की कोई डिस्प्यूट तो नहीं है, एडिशनल लाइबिलिटी एंड अंडरलाइन डॉक्यूमेंट्स. ठीक है. स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज, what are the GST payable, in case of GST payable, TDS payable, PF, ESI, है ना. Reasonability, sales या purchase, variance देखना है, obtain and verify the challans and reporting under CARO. ठीक है. Auditor will see. Now students, there is one point relating to MSME. Tell me, have you heard about this act, MSME Act 2006? Quickly, I need answers from all of you. Achha, before that, there is a point that if any of the liability is stated in foreign currency, then AS 11 का provision will be considered. Simple, है ना. अब मुझे बताओ, MSME के बारे में कुछ पढ़ा है क्या कभी? Quickly, I need answers. So MSME is what? Micro, small, and medium enterprises. So there is an act that is Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. ठीक है. So see students, where, listen to this carefully, where any of the creditor of the client का कोई क्रेडिटर या लाइबिलिटी इज व्हाट? MSME. तो हियर वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग कि क्लाइंट इज MSME एज पर द माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस डेवलपमेंट एक्ट 2006. नहीं, हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि अगर क्लाइंट के ट्रेड पेएबल्स में एनी पेमेंट इज ड्यू टू माइक्रो स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस अंडर द MSME डेवलपमेंट एक्ट, है ना, या कोई भी लाइबिलिटी जो क्लाइंट के इसमें आ रही है, इफ इट इज पेएबल टू MSME, देन व्हाट आर द डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स. अब MSME क्या होता है? देखो, as such for your auditing and assurance subject, आप just try to understand. Let me just give you an understanding that certain enterprises are identified as what? Micro, small and medium enterprises based on the criteria of their investment in plant and machinery and turnover, है ना. तो अगर कोई भी MSME आपका पेएबल है ना, so there are strict requirements कि if any interest and principal is payable to MSME na, the company needs to have a process to identify such payables and to separately disclose them in their notes to accounts, है ना. अब इतना स्पेशल क्या है? देखो, MSME जो है ना, so there are various schemes of government whereby these MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises are being encouraged, है ना. Like if you just Google ना MSME समाधान करके आपको एक पोर्टल मिलेगा वेयर बाय इफ एनी ऑफ द पार्टी हैज डिलेड एनी इंटरेस्ट और प्रिंसिपल पेमेंट टू एमएसएमई कैन डायरेक्टली लॉन्च अ कंप्लेंट ओवर देयर, है ना. सो इट enables them to directly register their cases about delayed payment. तो अगर आपका क्लाइंट जो है इसको पेमेंट करनी है किसी एमएसएमई को, लाइक इफ समथिंग इज पेएबल टू एमएसएमई बी इट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरेस्ट और प्रिंसिपल, देन ऑडिटर विल सी whether your client, the client is having a process to identify such payments and then to disclose them in the financial statement. ठीक है, is it clear? ठीक है. So basically within 45 days, so a buyer कौन है मेरा client यहाँ पर. So what is the rule? Basically the buyer is required to pay to the MSME within 45 days from the date of acceptance of goods and services. So basically, if the amount is not paid within 45 days of the acceptance of goods and services now, then the buyer has to pay compounded fine. है ना. तो buyer को क्या fine देना पड़ता है. Buyer कौन है इधर? My client. So that is why the disclosure is very much necessary with respect to payables to MSME. ठीक है, एक बार मॉड्यूल से पढ़ते हैं. देखो, so this we have seen. See, understand. Auditor will what? He will understand the management's process to identify the principal amount and interest due thereon, if any, remaining unpaid to MSME. That is, if any payment is not made within 45 days of accepting the goods, अगर 45 days तक पे नहीं किया है ना आपने, तो उसके बाद आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करना पड़ता है. ठीक है, तो check the management process to assess if the auditor could rely on the management process. ठीक है, सो ये समझ आता है ना कि स्पेसिफिकली एमएसएमई को अलग से क्यों शो करना है, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट हैज टेकन इनिशिएटिव्स टू एनकरेज एमएसएमई कि वो आगे आए, स्टार्टअप्स आगे आए, है ना. तो उन्हीं को अगर उन्हीं को कोई पे नहीं कर रहा है द इंटरेस्ट और द प्रिंसिपल, सो स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शंस आर देयर, है ना. सो दैट इज व्हाई इफ एनी ऑफ द पेबल्स ऑफ माय क्लाइंट आर व्हाट एमएसएमई, देन दीज आर द स्ट्रिक्ट डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स. ठीक है, ये समझ आता है. नाउ डिस्क्लोजर, सो Schedule 3 Part 1. So MSME के लिए क्या डिस्क्लोजर है अभी हम देखते हैं. So Schedule 3 Part 1 says that any amount that is included as a trade payable should be on account of goods and services purchased in the normal course of business. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that some other expense has been booked here, है ना. ये तो आपने trade receivable में भी देखा था. Now, when the company has disclosed, auditor will verify whether the company has disclosed the following details relating to micro and small enterprises in the notes. तो micro and small enterprises के लिए whether the disclosure has been made or not. So first is what? There are 5 points. The principal amount and the interest due thereon remaining unpaid to any supplier at the end of each accounting period. So अगर आपका client का कोई भी amount, be it principal interest, is payable, है ना, as at the end of the accounting period, that is to be mentioned कि कितना amount principal plus interest due है. So principal plus interest which is due at the end, है ना. Point number 2 says that if any interest is paid during the year under section 16 of the MSME Development Act 2006, then that shall be mentioned. तो पहले पॉइंट में हमने क्या बताया, that principal interest due as at the end of the year, accounting year. सेकेंड पॉइंट में क्या बताया, that during the year क्या आपने इंटरेस्ट पे किया in terms of section 16. ठीक है. Then the next point is what is the interest due and payable for the year under the MSME Act. ठीक है, पहले आपने क्या बताया, as on the date कितना आपने is payable. ठीक है, then what amount is paid. ठीक है, then what interest is payable for delay in making payment. तो यहां पे सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट की बात हो रही है. ठीक है. The fourth point says the amount of interest accrued which has been recorded in the books of account and which is unpaid. तो यहाँ पर क्या है due and unpaid और यहाँ पर क्या है accrued. Accrued is which is recorded है ना and which is unpaid. ठीक है, is it clear? And the last point says that such interest which is disallowed as a deductible expenditure under section 23 of the MSME Act. Disallowed where? Under the Income Tax Act 1961, है ना? So the interest, delayed interest payment which is disallowed under section 23 of the Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. So what are those payments? So such disclosures are to be made separately. ठीक है, is it clear? Simple है ना? ठीक है. Now with respect to trade payables, again very important students. Earlier there was no as such aging schedule that was required to be given as a disclosure, है ना? As per schedule 3 part 1 with respect to trade payables, but now such disclosure is required, है ना? So the following aging schedule shall be given for trade payables due for payment. So what will it be? So if any of the trade payable is MSME or other than MSME, less than 1 year, if it is outstanding from the due date of payment, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, or more than 3 year, and then the total, and this is others. Okay? So this is basically undisputed. And disputed dues to MSME, so you can ignore this line, है ना? ये वाला line. So undisputed to MSME and disputed to others. Sorry, disputed to MSME and disputed to others. ठीक है? And the way it is given in trade receivable, similar information shall be given when no due date is specified. In that case, disclosure shall be from the date of transaction. Unbilled dues, जिसके लिए you haven't received the bill, but yet, let's say you have made some provision. So unbilled due shall be disclosed separately. Simple है ना? है ना? तो ट्रेड पेबल्स में हमने क्या देखा? सबसे पहले तो नॉर्मल कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस में जो गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज हैव बीन रिसीव्ड, ओनली दैट विल फॉर्म पार्ट ऑफ व्हाट? ट्रेड पेबल्स. Then we saw MSME के लिए 5 points are there, and then we saw that trade payables के लिए there is what? Aging schedule that is to be disclosed. Clear? ठीक है? Now with respect to other current liabilities, simple है बहुत, तो देखते हैं. Whether the amount disclosed under other current liabilities are classified as below. Current maturities of finance lease obligation. So if any of the installment of finance lease is to be paid within the next 12 months, current maturities of finance lease obligation, it will come here, other current liabilities mein, है ना? Same way we have done this point, if you remember earlier also ना, when we were discussing borrowings. याद है किसी को? याद होना चाहिए, ठीक है? वहां पर भी हमने पढ़ा था, and I told you very important change, है ना? Second point is interest accrued but not due. Third point is interest accrued but due on borrowings. So let us try to understand these 2 points. Interest accrued but not due on borrowings. Interest accrued and due on borrowings. ठीक है? So let's say any loan was taken on 1st April 2021. Let's say 21. ठीक है? Let's say of 10,000. ठीक है? And if it is, let's say payable on 31st March 2023 along with interest. So if 15% interest है, तो 1500 here. ठीक है? But it did the entire interest plus this 10,000 is payable when? On 31st March 2023. So in this year, this 1500 is what? It is accrued. That is, it is recorded in the books, but it is not the due. Due तो नहीं है ना? Demanded कब है? On 31st March 2023. So this is what? Accrued but not due. So interest accrued but not due on borrowings. तो ये जो 1500 है ना, financial year 21-22 के लिए, this is what? Interest accrued, जो record हो गया but not due. ठीक है? Interest accrued and due on borrowings. So let's say अगर 1st April 21 को आपने 10,000 का लोन लिया एंड इट इज पेबल ऑन 31st March 2022 itself. तो अब जो यहाँ पे 1500 का आप इंटरेस्ट है, दिस इज पेबल ऑन 31st March 2022. So this is what accrued plus due. Accrued is what you will record it as a liability, and due is what it is demanded also. You need to pay it also. ठीक है? So interest accrued and due on borrowings. Simple. इनकम रिसीव्ड इन एडवांस करंट लाइबिलिटीज में आएगा, अनपेड डिविडेंड्स भी आएगा. ठीक है. इफ एनी एक्सेस एप्लीकेशन मनी इज रिसीव्ड फॉर अलॉटमेंट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी एंड इट इज ड्यू फॉर रिटर्न एंड इंटरेस्ट अक्रूड देयर ऑन, दैट विल ऑल्सो कम. है ना. ये फर्दर एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया हुआ है शेयर एप्लीकेशन मनी का. डू इट एज अ होमवर्क. कोई डाउट होगा तो यू कैन ऑलवेज आस्क मी द क्वेरीज. ठीक है. Unpaid matured deposit debentures and interest accrued. Unpaid matured debentures and interest accrued and others. अगर कोई matured deposits है या debentures है along with the interest, but these are what unpaid, तो current liabilities, other current liabilities में आएगा. देखो simple है ना. So you may get a question कि unpaid matured debentures and interest accrued thereon ये कहाँ आएगा. So chances are there that you will write borrowings, but the answer is what? Other current liabilities. है ना. MCQ true false ऐसे आ सकते हैं ना. Application money received on allotment of securities and due for refund. You may get a question MCQ कि कहाँ आएगा ये. So the answer is other current liability. Or you may get a question that other current liabilities में which all will not be included. So you may get a question an option which needs to be mentioned in borrowings. है ना. So this can be a good question for your examination. ठीक है. In the next session when we will come, I'll definitely discuss the one MCQ on this topic. ठीक है. So with this we have completed trade payables and what and your other liabilities. तो जो हमने अभी न्यू डिस्कस किया ना, I'll just take you through that because trade payables तो बहुत बारी डिस्कस हो गया. तो हमने ये क्या पढ़ा था कि अगर आपका अदर लाइबिलिटीज है तो आप सब्सिक्वेंट एक्सपेंस वाउचर, सब्सिक्वेंट समझ आता है ना कि 31st मार्च के बाद, 31st मार्च के सब्सिक्वेंट अप्रैल में जितनी भी ट्रांजैक्शंस हुई है ना, उनके एक्सपेंसेस या उनका जो भी चलान है वो सब चेक करो. एडवांस रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम कस्टमर इज कस्टमर वाइज लिस्टिंग लो, एजिंग लो, नेचर लो, वेदर दे आर आउटस्टैंडिंग बियॉन्ड 6 months, इफ यस क्या डिस्प्यूट है, कोई एडिशनल लाइबिलिटी तो नहीं है ना, एंड अंडरलाइन डॉक्यूमेंट्स देखो. स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज है तो प्रिपेयर रीजनेबिलिटी, रिटर्न्स देख लो, चलान्स देख लो, कोई रीजंस फॉर वेरिएंस है तो मैनेजमेंट से पूछ लो. कैरो 2020 में रिपोर्टिंग देख लो. एमएसएमई में देखो व्हाट इज द मैनेजमेंट प्रोसेस टू आइडेंटिफाई प्रिंसिपल एंड इंटरेस्ट ड्यू टू एमएसएमई. है ना. क्यों है ये मैंने आपको बता दिया. देन वी सॉ दैट व्हाट आर द डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट्स. तो हमने क्या देखा, तो हमने देखा कि ट्रेड पेबल में वही आना चाहिए जो नॉर्मल कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस में गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, ये रिसीव कर दो इसको, परचेज और रिसीव्ड. ठीक है. ठीक है. देन वेदर द कंपनी हैज डिस्क्लोज द फॉलोइंग डिटेल्स रिलेटिंग टू एमएसएमई, प्रिंसिपल एंड इंटरेस्ट ड्यू एट द एंड, इंटरेस्ट पेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेक्शन 80, इंटरेस्ट ड्यू एंड पेएबल फॉर द डिले इन मेकिंग पेमेंट. ठीक है. इंटरेस्ट अक्रूड, अब ये ड्यू अक्रूड सब समझ आ जाएगा आपको. एंड द इंटरेस्ट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू विच अलाउंसेस विच इज नॉट विच इज डिसअलाउड फॉर as been an deductible expenditure under section 23 of MSME Act, Development Act 2006. ये 23 इनकम टैक्स एक्ट का नहीं है, ये 23 किसका, MSME एंटरप्राइज डेवलपमेंट एक्ट. ट्रेड पेबल्स का एजिंग शेड्यूल देखना है. अदर करंट लायबिलिटीज देखो, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, आप मार्क कर लो. नेक्स्ट टाइम जब सेशन होगा आई डेफिनेटली टेक एमसीक्यूज. आपको क्वेश्चन आ सकता है एमसीक्यूज में दैट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट टू बी इंक्लूडेड अंडर द हेड करंट अदर करंट लायबिलिटीज. और इसका और बोरोविंग्स का कंफ्यूजन बहुत इजीली हो सकता है. तो बी लाइक प्रिपेयर दिस फॉर अ टेस्ट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. पक्का होएगा आपको कंफ्यूजन बोरोविंग्स में एंड अदर करंट लायबिलिटीज. ठीक है. बिकॉज आई एम श्योर एप्लीकेशन मनी हो गया या ये अनपेड मैच्योर डिपॉजिट्स हो गया, ये आपने क्या लिखना है, बोरोविंग्स में, बट ये कहाँ आएगा आपका, अदर करंट लायबिलिटीज में. ठीक है. दैट्स इट. ठीक है. So quickly tell me whether it is clear, then we will proceed further with our next balance sheet item, which is loans and advances and other current assets. और ये तो मेरे को आज फिनिश करना ही है. Quickly sending your reply, students. Clear till now. आलोक, ज्ञानेश, मनीषा बहन. ठीक है. अब बताओ लोन्स. अब एसेट साइड पे आ जाओ. अदर करंट लाइबिलिटीज तो लाइबिलिटीज था हमारा. अब हम इसका ही ऑपोजिट करेंगे. लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस एंड अदर करंट एसेट्स. अच्छा, एमसीक्यू ना आई विल डिस्कस आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग विद दिस चैप्टर. ठीक है. तो टेल मी अदर करंट एसेट्स में आपका क्या आ जाएगा. क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज. व्हाट ऑल विल कम. ठीक है. मॉड्यूल से मत पढ़ो ना, अपना थोड़ा सा दिमाग यूज करो. Loans and advances and other current assets. Priyanka is saying, ma'am, we will see in the next session. I will also see कि आपको वो MCQs आते होंगे या नहीं. Borrowings and other current liabilities. ठीक है. Prepaid expenses. प्रणव, ध्यानेश, ज्योति, पीयूष, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट है ना. देखो ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स की अभी हम बात नहीं कर रहे ना. ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स तो हमने पढ़ लिया ना उधर. अदर लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस and other current assets. So if any loan advances that have been given to let's say some related party, है ना. देखो related party के साथ transaction होने में कोई issue नहीं होता ना. हाँ, that should be reasonable at a reasonable price. That should be authorized. That should be at arm's length price. ऑडिटर को यही चेक करना है ना. जब हमने ऐसे 550 किया था तब भी मैंने आपको बताया था कि ऑडिटर को ऐसे प्रॉब्लम नहीं है रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शन से. बट the nature of related party transaction is such that chances of collusion, fraud is high. So auditor needs to be alert to those transactions. Simple. So loans and advances may be given to your related parties. या आपके कुछ security deposits हो सकते हैं, है ना. These are what your assets, है ना. कोई capital advance हो सकता है. Like if you have given any advance for let's say procurement of fixed asset, है ना. So that can be there. Then other current assets में आपके आ सकते हैं taxes paid in advance, prepaid taxes, है ना. तो ये सब आपका क्या है. These are all what your loans and advances and other current assets. ठीक है. तो क्विकली सोचो. मॉड्यूल भी मत देखो, स्क्रीन भी मत देखो. What all documents come to your mind कि कंपनी ने कुछ वो दिया हुआ है, लोन दिया हुआ है किसी पार्टी को. ठीक है. सो यहाँ पर लोन दिया हुआ है. देन प्रीपेड टैक्सेस के बारे में सोचेंगे. विजुअलाइज योरसेल्फ, है ना. आप एक कंपनी में बैठे हुए हो, आपके पास आता है एडवांस एंड लोन्स इन द एसेट साइड 50 lakhs. बताओ कैसे वेरीफाई करोगे. लोन दिया है लेट्स से 2-3 पार्टीज ABC. बताओ कैसे वेरीफाई करोगे. Priyanka, your doubt is not clear. What are you trying to say? अच्छा, ठीक है. That's good. Understood. एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, है ना. तो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट मैं एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन ले लूंगी. ठीक है. अब जब ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स का एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन लेते थे आप, तो वहां पर आप अमाउंट, टर्म्स कंफर्म करते थे. यहां पर एक एडिशनल क्या आ जाएगा, आप इंटरेस्ट भी कंफर्म करोगे. रेस्ट एज इट इज विल बी सेम, है ना. रेस्ट एज इट इज विल बी सेम. आप इंटरेस्ट भी कंफर्म करोगे. ठीक है. नाउ टेल मी प्रीपेड एक्सपेंसेस एंड. अब देखो जहां इसका सेम किसके जैसा रहेगा, जो आपका पेएबल थे ना, स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज. अगर आपने कोई टैक्स पेड इन एडवांस है तो सेम ही तो रहेगा. रिटर्न से टैली कर लो, है ना. आपका लेट्स से GST इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट है, रिटर्न से देख लो, है ना. रीजनेबिलिटी देख लो, वेरिएंसेस है मैनेजमेंट से पूछ लो. ठीक है. ऑल दैट विल बी सेम. ठीक है, तो क्विकली देखते हैं बिकॉज बहुत इजी है. एग्जिस्टेंस में द डायरेक्ट कंफर्म प्रोसीजर दैट यू अप्लाई फॉर ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स विल बी फॉलोड. ठीक है, बट अमाउंट के साथ मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली क्या आ जाएगा, इंटरेस्ट को भी आप कंफर्म कर सकते हो. सिंपल. कंप्लीटनेस के लिए लेट्स से विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एडवांसेस, सो ऑब्टेन अ लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल एडवांसेस. तो ये क्या है, करंट एसेट जो आपने एडवांस दिया हुआ है ना. balances in, so whatever is the total of the list, compare it with the balance that is appearing in the general ledger. ठीक है, लोन दिया हुआ है तो लोन अग्रीमेंट्स देख लो. एक्नॉलेजमेंट्स ऑफ पार्टी, एक्नॉलेजमेंट्स इज व्हाट, कंफर्मेशंस फ्रॉम द पार्टी. ठीक है, मेमोरेंडम ऑफ एसोसिएशन, आर्टिकल ऑफ एसोसिएशन में ऑथराइजेशन होना चाहिए ना, दैट द कंपनी कैन गिव लोन. सो सी दैट. एंड ऐसे कोई भी लोन दे देगा क्या, अकाउंटेंट का मन कर रहा है इसको लोन देने का, लोन दे दिया, नहीं. ऑथराइज पर्सनल ही तो लोन देंगे ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कंपनी के केस में डायरेक्टर्स, फॉर्म के केस में पार्टनर्स, ट्रस्ट के केस में ट्रस्टीज. सिंपल है ना. मिनट्स ऑफ द बोर्ड मीटिंग देख लो. सिक्योरिटी अगर आपको कोई मिला है, व्हेन यू हैव गिवन अ लोन, इफ एनी सिक्योरिटी हैज बीन डिपॉजिटेड, इंस्पेक्ट दैट. ऑडिटर विल परफॉर्म द प्रोसीजर्स टू सी वेदर द इंटरेस्ट अमाउंट और द प्रिंसिपल इज रिकवर्ड रेगुलरली. ऐसे तो नहीं है रिलेटेड पार्टी को दे दिया है, कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं आ रहा, कोई प्रिंसिपल नहीं आ रहा. रिलेटेड पार्टी को अगर लोन दिया है तो ऑथराइज है या नहीं, रीजनेबल है या नहीं, एएलपी को है नहीं. सो यू मे गेट अ क्वेश्चन कि रिलेटेड पार्टी को लोन दिया है, विच इज एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. So the answer is this is false, because related party को ट्रांजैक्शन आप कर सकते हो, बट ऑथराइज होना चाहिए, रीजनेबल होना चाहिए, आर्म्स लेंथ प्राइस पर होना चाहिए. जीएसटी इनपुट क्रेडिट है आपका, बैलेंस विद स्टैट्यूटरी अथॉरिटीज, कुछ भी आपका डिपॉजिट है. रीजनेबिलिटी देख लो, वेरिएंस है तो पूछ लो मैनेजमेंट से. रिटर्न्स देख लो, जो भी अमाउंट रिकॉर्डेड इन बुक्स है उससे कंपेयर कर लो. अब तो ये बहुत इजी लगता होगा ना आपको, मुझे पढ़ाने में तो बहुत इजी लग रहा है, बिकॉज दिस इज व्हाट आई थिंक द 4th सेशन है ना. एंड वी आर डिस्कसिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स इन ऑल दी आइटम्स. कुछ ना कुछ कॉमन तो होता ही है. वैल्यूएशन, जैसे ट्रेड रिसीवेबल में वैल्यूएशन में हमारे माइंड में क्या आता था, व्हाट इज द प्रोविजन, सेम, एग्जैक्टली द सेम. अलाउंस है ना, अगर आपने कोई एडवांस दिया हुआ है ना, सो अलाउंस फॉर डाउटफुल अकाउंट्स, क्या मेथड है, वेदर इट इज एप्रोप्रिएट, कंसिस्टेंट है नहीं, लास्ट ईयर से कंपेयर कर लो. एजिंग रिपोर्ट देख लो ना. लिस्ट ऑफ लोन्स एडवांस अंडर लिटिगेशन, प्रीवियस ईयर से कंपेयर कर लो. डाउटफुल है तो मैनेजमेंट से पूछो कि मैनेजमेंट इसका प्रोविजन क्यों नहीं बनाया. राइट ऑफ होना है तो अप्रूव्ड बॉडी होनी चाहिए. एंड AS11 foreign currency loans and advances. So effects of changes in foreign currency में देख लो, that if any of the loan or advance has been given in foreign currency, so whether that is restated at the local currency in terms of AS11. AS11 is what, effects of changes in foreign currency. ठीक है, so I hope everything is clear to you with respect to loans and advances. Exactly same है various procedure that you have done with respect to trade receivables. ठीक है. So let us have a look at it from the module. So loans and advances include loans and advances to related parties, security deposits, है ना, amounts recoverable in cash kind, your taxes, insurance paid in advance or prepaid taxes. ठीक है. So with respect to existence, direct confirmation procedures करोगे, but along with the amount you will confirm the interest also. So let us have a look. For establishing the existence of loans and advances, direct confirmation procedures similar to those performed for account receivable should be performed, with the only difference that while performing circularization of direct confirmation, in addition to the principal amount, interest receivable, if any, as per the agreed terms, may also be included as the part to be confirmed. Simple. Completeness के लिए list लोगे है ना, वी हैव सीन इट ना. लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल एडवांसेस लोगे है ना, कंपेयर देम विद द लेजर. लोन अग्रीमेंट्स, एक्नॉलेजमेंट्स इज व्हाट, कंफर्मेशंस from the party है ना. If any discrepancy or if any material loan is given, then whether memorandum of association. तो all those who are saying मैम how to learn, देखो ऐसे summary बना सकते हो ना, या आप highlight कर सकते हो ना. ठीक है. And this chapter तो students, I'll again repeat that I'll suggest you to make summaries है ना. लेंथी चैप्टर है बट बहुत स्कोरिंग है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है एंड बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है फ्रॉम योर एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. सो द वे यू लाइक, आपको समरीज बनानी है, लेफ्ट साइड पे एम्पल ऑफ स्पेसेस गिवन हियर, यू कैन ऑलवेज मेक समरीज हियर है ना. आप हाईलाइट करो कीवर्ड्स द वे यू लाइक. ठीक है, बट पढ़ना स्टार्ट करो, समराइज करना स्टार्ट करो. ठीक है. आर्टिकल ऑफ एसोसिएशन में ऑथराइज है या नहीं. ठीक है. So approved by appropriate person. So directors in case of a company, partners in case of a firm, trustees in case of trust. Minutes of the board meetings है ना जहां पर the same is approved, right? Then whether agreed installments, principal interest has been received or not. Related party है तो authorization देखो, reasonableness देखो, and your arm's length price है ना. I hope this concept of arm's length price is now clear. जीएसटी इनपुट क्रेडिट है, रीजनेबिलिटी देखो, वेरिएंसेस है, मैनेजमेंट से डिस्कस करो, जीएसटी रिटर्न्स देखो, है ना, ये सब पढ़ा ना हमने. वैल्यूएशन में यू ऑल नो, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स में जैसे हमने पढ़ा क्या कि प्रोविजंस का देखो, अलाउंस फॉर डाउटफुल अकाउंट कैसे कैलकुलेट होता है, वेदर दैट मेथड इज एप्रोप्रिएट, वेदर दैट मेथड इज कंसिस्टेंटली अप्लाइड इन द लास्ट ईयर ऑल्सो, ऑडिटर विल कंसीडर ऑल दैट. एजिंग शेड्यूल ले लो, है ना. इससे क्या पता चलता है, देखो आपको पता चलेगा ना, आपने किसी को पैसा दिया हुआ है ना, एंड लेट्स से इट इज नॉट बीन रिकवर्ड फॉर द लास्ट 1 year, देन व्हाट इज द रीजन, है ना. तो एजिंग रिपोर्ट से यू विल बी एबल टू नो वेदर दिस इज जस्ट अ डाइवर्जन ऑफ फंड, फेक है, जेन्युइन है, किसको दिया हुआ है फंड, ठीक है. इफ एनी ऑफ द लोन appears to be doubtful, then ask management why provision has not been made. Write off क्या कोई भी कर देगा, नहीं, we have done in trade receivables, it shall be done with the appropriate authority, है ना, any senior authority. And if the loan or advance has been given in what foreign currency, then whether the same has been stated properly in accordance with AS11. AS11 is what, effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. ठीक है, क्लियर है. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट, अगेन शेड्यूल 3 पार्ट 1 टू द कंपनीज एक्ट 2013, है ना, बहुत सिंपल है. जो हमने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स में किया ना, वो आपका कहाँ पे ऑलमोस्ट सेम प्रोसीजर्स कहाँ आते हैं, ट्रेड पेएबल्स में एंड लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस में भी, ठीक है. तो थोड़ा सा बी ए स्मार्ट लर्नर. अगर आपने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स अच्छे से किया है, यू विल बी एबल टू आंसर व्हाट ट्रेड पेएबल्स एंड एडवांसेस ऑल्सो, ठीक है. So long-term loans and advances, and then you will have what? Short-term loans and advances. Now with respect to long-term loans and advances, long-term loans and advances shall be classified as capital advances, loans and advances to related parties, other loans and advances specify the nature, and here also give the details if any loan and advances have been given to related party, ठीक है. Further, the way we did in trade receivable कि secured unsecured बताना है, secured considered good, unsecured considered good, doubtful, है ना, कितना allowance है with respect to each class, same is here. The above shall be separately classified as secured considered good, unsecured considered good, and doubtful. Allowance provision with respect to all these advances under relevant heads, है ना, सबका आपको बताना है कि कितना provision है. This is also the same that we have done in trade receivables. Loans and advances due by directors or other officers of the company or any one of them. So directors and officers, yeah, loans and advances which has been given to and which is due by what? Any firm or private companies where such director is a partner or he is a director or member should be separately disclosed. Simple है, ये सब हमने trade receivables में detail में किया. Same way with respect to short-term loans and advances to related party, ठीक है, to other parties, sub classified as secured, considered good, unsecured, considered good, doubtful, exactly the same. Allowances जो भी हैं, amount which is due by the directors or other officers or any firm or private company where such director is interested, like he is a partner or he is member or a director, ठीक है, clear. Now this is what additional regulatory requirement with respect to loans and advances to just a minute, additional regulatory information. Who is required to give such information? It is the management, the company who is required to give such information, ठीक है. Additional regulatory information. देखो shareholders ने अपना पैसा कंपनी को दिया, कंपनी ने वो पैसा आगे एज अ लोन एंड एडवांस दे दिया. सो शेयर होल्डर्स हैव द राइट टू नो एज टू वेयर सच फंड इज गिवन. इफ एनी अमाउंट हैज बीन गिवन एज लोन्स और एडवांस टू ईदर द प्रमोटर, द डायरेक्टर, की मैनेजरियल पर्सनल KMP, or the related party such additional regulatory information. कौन बताएगा ये? कंपनी खुद ही additional regulatory information के फॉर्म में in the notes the company has to give such disclosure. Clear? अब ये क्या disclosure है? बहुत simple है. That if any loan or advance in the nature of loan has been granted to 4 categories: promoters, directors, KMP या related parties, either jointly or severally, that are repayable on demand or without specifying any terms of or period of repayment. So all loans and advances to promoters, directors, KMP, related party will not come here. यहाँ कौन से loans advances आएंगे? जहां पर आपने बताया ही नहीं कि वो कब repay करना है. See, if any loan has been given whereby it is mentioned that it is repayable within 3 years, so that will not come here. है ना? So which is repayable on demand, कि जब हमें चाहिएगा we will call for it. Or without specifying any terms or period of repayment. So only those loans where such period is not mentioned, that will come, which has been given to promoter, director, KMP or the related party. अब management को या company को क्या disclose करना है? What is the type of borrower? Is it the promoter, director, KMP or related party? Amount of the loan or advance in the nature of loan outstanding. कितना amount है? Let's say rupees 1 CR or let's say rupees 10 lakhs, है ना? And वो जो amount of loan that has been given to that promoter or to the director or to the KMP or to the related party, the percentage of that loan to the total of the loan. The percentage of the total loan in the loans and advances. तो कितना percentage है वो that loan to the total of the loan. So who is going to give such information? It is the management or the company who has to give such additional regulatory information. Who is going to verify it? The auditor is going to verify it. Simple. ठीक है? Simple है. अगर कोई भी loan or advance in the nature of loan which has been given to promoter, director, KMP, related party, then which is repayable or demand or without specifying any term. So if repayment बता दिया है कि इतने सालों में करना है तो वो नहीं आएगा इधर, है ना? And what is the amount and what is the percentage of such amount to the total loan that has been given. ठीक है? Is it clear? So with this we have covered loans and advances and other current assets also. And as many of you are saying, ma'am, please discuss the MCQs now. So I'll do that. And after discussing the MCQ, if time will permit, we will start with provision and contingent liabilities. Okay? But before discussing the MCQs, I want all of you to tell me whether loans and advances and other current asset topic is clear or not. Koi doubt hai to please send in your queries. I'll definitely resolve them. See, student, this chapter is having 100% practical implementation and very logical. आप बस अपने आप को visualize करो in a situation whereby you are conducting the audit of ABC Limited, let's say any company, और आप loans and advances को verify कर रहे हो. अब जब इतना आपने सुन लिया, आपने ये मॉड्यूल पढ़ लिया है, you will be able to yourself answer कि अच्छा मेरे को ये डॉक्यूमेंट चाहिए होगा, मेरे को ये डॉक्यूमेंट चाहिए होगा. ठीक है? So Dhyanesh is saying, ma'am, easy. Pritika, Manisha Ben, all everyone is saying, ma'am, it is clear. So Ayushi, what is meant by no, ma'am? Please clarify. Piyush, Jyoti, Bharat, Pranav, Alok, everyone is saying, ma'am, it is clear. So I hope you all are ready for the MCQs now. Just a minute. ठीक है? So I hope you all are ready for your MCQs and I want all of you to please answer it correctly. Devote time in reading the question, है ना? सीधा options को मत read करो, questions को भी अच्छे से read करो and then go to the options part. Read the options also carefully and then only answer. ठीक है? Send in your replies with respect to the first question which is on the screen. Let me just increase the time. Just a minute. ठीक है, the first question. During the course of audit of intangible assets, expenditure incurred during the following phase is not capitalized. Is it the development phase? Is it the research phase? Is it like none of the above? That is neither the development phase nor the research phase, or is it both A and B? So students, I'm waiting for your replies. I want all of you to answer. So let me just take you through the topic in the module where we have already covered this. So this is pertaining to intangible assets. So I'm giving you a hint also. Read this and then answer. So for all those, Alok, Jyoti, Bharat, Danish, read this point and then answer. So the answer is what? Research phase, Hana? Because if you remember, I told you at that time that at the research phase, the company is incurring the expenditure for the research and the entity as such cannot demonstrate that intangible asset exists from which benefits are probable to come. Hana? So here it is just the research phase which will be charged to what? P&L. Okay? So it is mentioned here, ensure that no cost related to research phase gets recognized as intangible asset. Because अभी तो आप research कर रहे हो ना, अभी intangible asset exist थोड़ी ना किया है. पता नहीं ना intangible asset आएगा नहीं. It is what? Research phase. So the answer is what? B. Second question, read this question carefully. CAA is conducting the audit of a company. During the course of audit, he found that there is a cashier, a petty cashier, and in addition, there are impressed balances with the employees. तो ये कहाँ का टॉपिक है? Cash and cash equivalents. With respect to the audit of cash balance of the company, which is correct course of action. तो जो आपके options है ना, they are given like this: A, B, C, D, statement 1 and 2, 1 and 4. ठीक है? These are the options. Now read these points, statements carefully. The cash balance. So I'll keep on writing here, which is correct. But first you have to answer. Okay. The cash balance with cashier, petty cashier, and impressed balances with the employees should be checked simultaneously. This is the first statement. The cashier should be present while cash has been counted, and he should be made to sign the statement prepared containing the details of the cash balance so counted. Third statement. Since the company is having more than one cash balance, that is with the cashier, petty cashier, impressed balance with employees, CA, just a minute, let me just. CA should ask the management to get the cash balance verified by the main cashier and furnish cashier's report to him. And the fourth statement says CA should ask any of the cashiers to verify the cash balance and provide with him a report on the same. Okay? So read this statement carefully. I'm waiting for your replies. And students, please, I need correct answers. है ना? आपको जितना time लेना है, like you have 1 minute. You may take that 1 minute. Read this question along with these 4 statements and then the options. So Jyoti, Alok, Pranav, Khojima, absolutely correct. Rest of you also reply. Priyanka correct, Piyush correct. ठीक है, जिस whosoever name I haven't taken, please check your answers. ठीक है, so now अब देखो कैसे हाउ टू रीड दी एमसीक्यूज, हाउ टू सॉल्व दी एमसीक्यूज, है ना. अब देखो यहाँ पे बहुत सारी स्टेटमेंट्स हैं एंड ऑप्शंस आर व्हाट, थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग है ना. तो देखो क्वेश्चन यू हैव सीन दैट ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ ऑडिट द ऑडिटर फाउंड दैट कैशियर भी है, पेटी कैशियर भी है, इम्प्रेस्ड बैलेंसेस भी है. सो विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑडिट ऑफ कैश विच इज करेक्ट, आई ऑलवेज टेल यू कि यहाँ पर करेक्ट पूछा है या इनकरेक्ट पूछा है. प्लीज रीड दैट केयरफुली. अगर इनकरेक्ट होगा योर ऑप्शन विल बी different, है ना. So this is what correct course of action. The cash balance with cashier, petty cashier, impressed balance with employees should be checked simultaneously, which is what correct, है ना. ये हमने पढ़ा था ना. So that shortage with the cashier should not be made full from the cash which is lying with petty cashier. ऐसा तो नहीं है कैशियर का काउंट किया आपने, नेक्स्ट डे वही पैसा पेटी कैशियर को दे दिया, नेक्स्ट डे वही पैसा किसको दे दिया, एम्प्लॉइज हैविंग द इम्प्रेस्ड बैलेंस. सो दिस इज करेक्ट. The cashier should be present while cash has been counted and he should sign the statement prepared containing the details of the cash balance so counted, which is also correct. ठीक है ना. हमने देखा था ना that the cashier should be present, otherwise he may hold the auditor responsible for any of the shortfall in the cash. ठीक है. Since the company is having more than one cash balance, I'm reading the third statement, with cashier, petty cashier, impressed balances with employees, CA should ask the management to get the cash balance verified by the main cashier and furnish cashier's report to him, which is not correct. So I am writing here incorrect. So this point is saying that auditor will ask the management कि management देखो बहुत सारा पैसा किसी किसी के पास है ना, तो main cashier को बोलो कि he will verify it and give a report to me. So here the auditor is going through the management. ठीक है. Next point में what is auditor doing? He is going directly to the cashier. CA should ask any of the cashiers to verify the cash balances and provide him with the report on the same, which is also incorrect. है ना. Auditor is responsible for his report. He is required to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence in order to conclude on various assertions so that he can give an opinion on the financial statement as a whole. है ना. तो उन्हीं को थोड़ी ना बोल देगा. So what is this statement 1 and 2 are correct. So what is the correct answer? Point number option A. ठीक है. So students see this MCQ as such was easy. है ना. But some confusion is there here. Why? Because a lot of data is mentioned here. पहले you need to read this carefully कि correct पूछा है, incorrect पूछा है. Then you need to see whether these statements are correct or not. 4 statements you have to see. And then you have to see that what is the combination given here. तो बहुत easy है. But for that you need to read it with concentration and step by step. ठीक है. So for all those who were saying ma'am please discuss as to how to answer to MCQs, देखो these are very securing questions. MCQs में भी अगर आपका गलत हो जाता है तो that is not acceptable ना. But yes, reading it with concentration. अब यहीं पे अगर आपका word ये incorrect होता, so I don't know whether that option is here or not. Let's say 3rd and 4 are incorrect. So if this was 3rd, then the answer would have been what? B. So reading the question carefully is the need of the hour. Like you have to read the question carefully. The question, the statements, if any question like this is given, and the options. Okay? So I don't remember the name of the student, but this is the way how to read the MCQ and answer it correctly. Okay? Now question number 3. So these MCQs are going to test your knowledge of the entire chapter number 9 that we have done so far. So I'm not doing like, I'm not just covering the last session, but all the last 3 sessions. Okay? Ayushi, check your answers. Now is it clear? Ayushi? We are discussing the 3rd point now. Okay? And I want all of you to mention the keyword here. ठीक है. Keyword क्या लगता है? So students are saying, ma'am, we are enjoying your lecture. Students, I am also enjoying teaching you. Thank you for so motivating messages. Okay, so my endeavor is to make this chapter easy and enjoyable for you, है ना? So I need answer and I need correct answers. ज्योति ए बी कैसे हो सकता है? ए बी तो कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है ना, इधर इट कैन बी ए और बी, है ना? आई थिंक दिस इज सम मिस्टेक, है ना? सो राइट इट. अच्छा ठीक है, ज्योति हैज गिवन. अच्छा, so Jyoti wants to say that this is the keyword and the answer is B. ठीक है. Okay, ठीक है. So Yatiraj has answered it correctly. Alok, Dhyanesh, Pritika, Jyoti, Valar, sorry, I am not able to pronounce it, but M. Vala, Dhyanesh, Priyanka, Mr. Mishra. Let us have a look at the question. Verification of all the traveling expenses of the client company by the audit team addresses the following assertion related to the income expense account. So the keyword here is what? All. Is it valuation? Is it completeness? Is it measurement or the existence? So the answer is B. All. Hana, I always tell you concentrate on the keywords. Hana, while you're going through the module also, na, highlight the keywords that are going to help you in answering the MCQs, true false question and your case scenarios. Okay, so the answer is what? B. Ayushi is correct. Bhargav is also correct. Aman, absolutely correct. Okay. Now the fourth question. Read it carefully. So Gomathi Krishnan, thank you, Miss Krishnan, for motivating me. See, verifying whether employee benefit expense of client company has been fairly allocated between the operating expense incurred in production activities, general expense addresses, general expense. This addresses which of the following assertion? So I'm waiting for your replies. This is with respect to income statement, है ना? So is it completeness? Is it presentation and disclosure? Is it measurement or is it occurrence? So student, I need your correct answer. So I'm waiting for your replies. Then we will be discussing the last MCQ for today's session. Okay. So verifying whether verifying whether employee benefit expense of client company has been fairly allocated between operating expense incurred in production or general expenses. So it is what? It is not about completeness. It is not about measurement. It is not about occurrence. It is about what? Presentation and disclosure. Yes, Bhargav, allocated is the keyword here, and the answer is B. Mr. Mohammed Ora, Alok, Mr. Mishra, Bhargav. ठीक है, प्रियंका, भरत, Dhyanesh, Ramnivas, Hojema. Your answers are correct. Okay. Now let us discuss this question. Fifth one. Which of the following is C correct with respect to provisions relating to revenue reserves of a company? Hana? Revenue reserves can be used to supplement divisible profits in lean years. Revenue reserve cannot be used to augment the working capital of the business of the company. Revenue reserve cannot be used to finance an extension of the business of the company. Revenue reserve can be used to generally strengthen the company's financial position. So the best way to answer such type of question, है ना, जहां पर अब these are the options, है ना. So besides these statement, ना, keep on writing correct, incorrect. ठीक है? So the question wants you to mention what are the correct options with respect to revenue reserves. तो यहाँ पर लिखते जाओ and then you will be able to write the answer correctly. ठीक है? So students, I'm waiting for your replies. Which of the following is correct with respect to provisions relating to revenue reserves of a company? So revenue reserve can be used to supplement the divisible profits in lean years, which is correct. Revenue reserve cannot be used to augment the working capital of the business of the company, which is incorrect. Revenue reserve cannot be used to finance an extension of the business of the company, which is again incorrect. Revenue reserve can be used to generally strengthen the company's financial position, which is correct. तो यहाँ पर correct पूछा है ना, so first and fourth. अब देखो ये option कहाँ है? So this is what B point. ठीक है? For all those who are saying, ma'am, where is it given in the module? Let me just show it to you. Students, read between the lines. You may get any question, है ना? MCQ, true, false, बहुत easily किसी भी line में से आ सकता है. Once you have read the module in entirety, I always say in entirety, including the examples, illustrations, है ना? Example illustrations are not given in this chapter as such, but for other chapters also. That is going to help you, prepare you for your MCQs, case scenario and true false. और बहुत easy है ना? Once you go through it, you will be able to remember, I'm sure. Just a minute, let me just show it to you. So here, revenue reserve represent profits that are available for distribution to shareholders or for below such purposes. So revenue reserves can be used, है ना, to supplement divisible profits in lean years. So this was our first point. So this is correct. To finance an extension of business. So to finance, but it is saying cannot be used. So it is what? Incorrect. ठीक है? To augment the working capital of the business, but it is saying cannot be used. So this is what? Again incorrect. Then to generally strengthen the company's financial position, which is what? It is saying it can be used. So correct. So the answer is this. है ना? अब यहाँ पर अगर incorrect होता, so your answer would have been what? Second and third, which is what? A. So reading this line also is very important. Students have a tendency to jump on these statements and answer the questions without reading anything, है ना? Without reading the main line. ठीक है? So let me just have a look as to who all have answered it correctly. So Dhyanesh, thank you for appreciating my teaching style. Thank you so much. Miss Gomati Krishna is saying, ma'am, yes, exactly this happens. I forgot the statement. Read it carefully. है ना? वैसे तो here I have mentioned, देखो यहाँ पर ना मैंने लिख दिया है are correct. Suppose if this is not mentioned. अब देखो, if this is not mentioned, now reading of this line is so important ना. Otherwise your answer would have changed. So reading this line, ये incorrect हो सकता था ना. बट आपको एक जनरल टेंडेंसी होगी कि करेक्ट लिखना है तो इसमें से देखा एंड यू मार्क द आंसर. So students, believe me, these MCQs are really very very scoring. हाँ, उसके लिए थोड़ा सा attentive reading तो आपको चाहिए. ठीक है. So let us just now move on to the topic which I told you. So though we will not be able to complete this topic, but let us just touch upon this topic. Hana, so that let us just make a foundation for this topic so that it will help us in the next session. So quickly tell me, so our next topic is what? Just a minute. Provisions and contingent liabilities. ठीक है? Audit with you, ma'am, is very interesting. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much. So the next topic is provisions and contingent liabilities. ठीक है? Students, try to enjoy the subjects that you are studying. Then only you are able to give your 100% concentration and you are going to, remember the topics. और बहुत practical है, कुछ भी, there is no cramming required. Just pick up the keywords, है ना? Just pick up the keywords, and if you just visualize yourself in a situation whereby, see if any of the item of financial statement which you haven't done, I'm repeating it again, if it comes in the exam, just visualize yourself कि मेरे को इसका existence check करना है, तो इससे related क्या document I can see, and just use the words like verify, ensure, check, obtain a list, है ना? You will definitely be able to answer it. Now tell me, with respect to provisions and contingent liability, which AS comes to your mind? Also tell me whether you have an idea as to what is a provision, what is a contingent liability. So Mohammed Gohra, I'm happy that you are able to know as to what is this technique, like how to answer the MCQs. Priyanka, it is good that if you are able to give the right answers without referring to the book, that is absolutely good. Very good. Okay. Now, with respect to provisions and contingent liability, I'm sure that you have an understanding as to what is a provision and what is a contingent liability. Okay. So, abhi, since we are not having much time, so abhi I'm not taking in detail as to what is a provision, contingent liability. So, jitna bhi aapko idea hai with respect to provision and contingent liability, now visualize yourself in a situation कि आपको provision check करना है. Provision for, let's say, depreciation, for taxation, है ना? Provision for any of the employees' expenses, any employee benefit like your gratuity payable, your PF payable, कोई भी provision check करना है. ठीक है? Provision क्या होता है? Liability, but जिसको आप estimation से देखते हो, where exact amount cannot be known, है ना? That is what you will provide for it in the books of accounts. You will create a provision, है ना? डिटेल में हम नेक्स्ट सेशन में डिस्कस करेंगे. अब मुझे बताओ, अगर आपको प्रोविजन देखना है कि gratuity payable, whether the provision with respect to this gratuity amount, whether it is correct or not, whether the provision for taxation is correct or not, what all documents come to your mind? Ab kya documents come to your mind? What all documents will you ask the management to provide to you? Just imagine yourself in a situation na ki aap audit karne gaye ho, है ना? And you are asking the management कि management मेरे को ये provision check करना है. I want certain documents. What all will be those documents? Quickly बताऊं, then we will end the session for today. But a discussion of next 5 minutes. So I'm waiting for the replies. Probable होता है, correct, but next session में discuss करेंगे. Estimation के साथ कर सकते हैं, but next session में discuss करेंगे. Yes, if it is auditor will obtain what? List. Yes. देखो, provision for any litigation can be created ना, है ना? कि if any, let's say, litigation is going on, तो इसके लिए लीगल एक्सपर्ट का जो भी ओपिनियन था वो सब देख सकते हैं, प्रोविजन का कैलकुलेशन कैसे किया ये सब देख सकते हैं, एंड सिंस प्रोविजन को आप एस्टिमेट्स करते हो तो व्हाट इज द बेसिस ऑफ सच एस्टिमेट्स, क्या अजम्पशंस हैं मैनेजमेंट की, अंडरलाइंग अजम्पशंस, ऑडिटर में आज दैट, है ना, ठीक है। और बताओ, ठीक है, कंटिंजेंट लाइबिलिटी दिखाना है तो वेदर दैट हैज बीन डिस्क्लोज और नॉट, इट इज करेक्ट आलोक, बट अभी प्रोविजन के लिए मुझे बताओ और क्या आप चेक कर सकते हो। कॉम्प्यूटेशन चेक कर सकते हो ना, प्रोविजन फॉर टैक्सेशन है, प्रोविजन कोई भी है, यू कैन चेक द कैलकुलेशन, एस्टिमेशन क्या है, ठीक है। अंडरलाइन अग्रीमेंट्स, अगर वारंटीज ऑन द सेल ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स दिया हुआ है देन व्हाट आर द अग्रीमेंट्स, अगर इसके लिए आपने प्रोविजन क्रिएट किया है। इट माइट बी पॉसिबल दैट सर्विसेज ऑफ एनी एक्सपर्ट लाइक एक्चुअरीज इज बीन टेकन, सो इनका जो भी एक्चुअरीज का वैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट है, हु आर एक्चुअरीज, वी हैव डन दिस इन क्वाइट डिटेल इन चैप्टर नंबर 3, है ना, तो वो डिस्कस, वो यू कैन डिस्कस विद द, वो दैट यू कैन रेफर, है ना। व्हाट एल्स स्टूडेंट्स, मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट, चलो ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन है फॉर टुडे, मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट का नॉलेज अगर यूज करना है, वी हैव डन दिस टॉपिक in one of the essays in chapter number 3. चलो I have given you a hint also. Chapter number 3 में हमने discuss किया था with respect to management expert. The last question from my side for today's session, tell me the essay number. ठीक है, and for all those who have attended my session on chapter number 3, see I want all of you to answer. ठीक है, तो कृष्णन, गोमती कृष्णन is absolutely correct. Tell me, मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट की बात हो रही है मिस्टर मिश्रा, नॉट अबाउट ऑडिटर्स एक्सपर्ट, ठीक है। मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट, देखो मैनेजमेंट ने कोई एक्सपर्ट हायर किया है ना इन ऑर्डर टू सी व्हाट शुड बी द प्रोविजन अमाउंट, है ना। सो इफ मैनेजमेंट इज यूजिंग द वर्क ऑफ दैट एक्सपर्ट, हमने कुछ पढ़ा था कि उसका कॉम्पिटेंस, कैपेबिलिटी, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी चेक करेंगे, है ना, whether that work is appropriate for auditor's purpose or not, tell me the essay number and the essay name, that's it. So अभी तक मिस गोमती कृष्णन ने ठीक बताया है एंड मिस्टर खोजेमा ने ठीक बताया है। Dyanesh, you are somewhat around this correct answer but not the correct answer, so the answer is what, essay 500 audit evidence में आपने पढ़ा था, the name is audit evidence, कि अगर मैनेजमेंट एक्सपर्ट का इंफॉर्मेशन ऑडिटर इज यूजिंग देन ही मस्ट चेक द CCO, रिमेंबर, competence, capability, objectivity, he must obtain an understanding of the work of the management expert and he must see whether that work is appropriate or not, है ना। स्टूडेंट्स ऐसा मत करो कि you are learning the chapters that we are doing with you and you are forgetting the chapters which have already been covered. Keep on revising. I always tell you कि जब भी you are going through the module ना, just flip on the pages of the chapters that have already been discussed in the earlier sessions. That way you are going to, that way you will not forget the topics at least, है ना, ठीक है, clear, ठीक है। So with this we will do one thing, we will end the session for today and I really enjoyed teaching you, especially today's session I really enjoyed because many of you have, in fact most of you have answered the questions correctly and many of you have written that now you are able to answer as to what documents are to be verified on your own, and you are saying that you are finding this topic interesting, which is really very motivating for me, ठीक है। But again, as I always request you before ending the session that before coming for the session on 2nd December, you need to go through the module in entirety till where we have covered. So provision and contingent liability से पहले जितना भी topic है, now we have covered the additional regulatory information in the form of notes also. ठीक है, nothing is left before that topic. In the next session, provision for contingent liability, and I told you that MCQ with respect to other current liabilities and borrowings, I'm definitely going to give it to you. ठीक है, so be prepared, and before coming for the next session, please come after going through the module in entirety till where we have covered. ठीक है, thank you for the extra 7 minutes that you have given to me, and good night. Thank you, students.